so cute. He can swim, but he's gotten a little better. He just like a boat thing that I can't most of the time.
Oh.
So I have to have a. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love it there.
And it's like the food is there's a.
That would be great.
It's all
Thank you.
you eat. You know, like it's all inclusive. When the
Did he say he's ready? Oh, I missed it. So I call the regional Amherst Pelham Regional School Committee to order at 6:39. The first thing on our agenda is public comment. So let me read this real quick. Thank you for attending the public meeting of Amherst Pelham Regional School Committee. This meeting will be held in accordance with Massachusetts Open Meeting Law. The committee oversees the Amherst Pelham Regional Schools and has purview over the following areas: employment, compensation, and evaluation of the superintendent, appointment of certain and other employees per policy BDC, review of approval of a fiscally responsible annual budget, 4, establish the overreaching educational goals, 5, develop policies as the guide for administrative action and to strive for continual improvement in the educational programming for the district. The chair of the committee will preside over the meeting, including acknowledging of speakers during the public comment. The public comment period is an opportunity for the committee to receive the opinions of its constituents and issues of school committee business. We request that all comments be respectful. Comments regarding matters within the school committee purview may be offered during the public meeting. However, this committee will not hear personal complaints related to any matter outside of its purview. Generally, this includes complaints against school personnel, students, members of the school community. Under most circumstances, administrative channels are the proper means for these grievances. Our students and staff have the right to privacy. The chair of the committee reserves the right, after a warning, to terminate comments that are not protected by First Amendment. Policy BEDH, public participation at committee meetings dictates 3 minutes for each speaker unless the chair extends the time and states the individual may not assign their time to another speaker. The committee respectfully requests your cooperation in keeping comments under 3 minutes and to matters within the purview of the committee. In accordance with policy BEDH, we welcome members of the audience to make public comment. Please clearly state your name and your affiliation with the district. So we have Allison Ranker.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Ranker. I live in Holyoke, and I was a staff member at Amherst Regional High School for 4 years. And I'm really thankful for the chance to speak to all of you and for all of you for being here tonight. And I also want to thank the people behind me, my queer community, for being here. We're here tonight because we want to bring your attention to failures that continue to happen in the schools where children are not being protected, where staff and volunteers do not feel protected. And I've experienced this personally, so that's why I wanted to be up here. I haven't been in the district for 3 years, but it wasn't always a safe place to be a queer adult and to be a queer student. The reason that channels exist where we can have accountability discussions, restorative justice discussions, where are those avenues? You know, why are we skipping that and going into crazy punitive levels? So we just need to talk together a little more about how to keep our students safe. The outside world is not getting safer for them. It's urgent. Thank you.
Thanks. Eve?
Hi, my name is Eve Bogdanov, and I was a former executive director of the Men's Resource Center in Amherst. I've been a social worker in the Valley for 25 years and worked with queer youth. And as a parent of a 15-year-old kid who's in a school outside of this district, it disturbs me and it worries me that if in Amherst, where the H is silent, if the students don't feel safe and the staff don't feel safe and the volunteers don't feel safe, that's a problem. This is Massachusetts. We live here for a reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Myra Lamb?
Hi, everyone. My name is Myra Lamb, she, her pronouns. I am a 4th grade teacher in South Hadley, and I actually had the opportunity to do my student teaching at Crocker Farm here in Amherst. I have had the chance to listen to a lot of LGBTQ kids throughout my career, and I think the issues that we face in South Hadley are so similar to those that folks here face in Amherst and people across the world as well. the kids that I work with talk to me about all sorts of day-to-day issues in their lives. Just getting people to call them by the correct name, just getting people to even understand that they, them pronouns are an aspect of their humanity. Going to the bathroom, kids really, it takes a lot for them to just find the right bathroom for them to go to. And sometimes they're just trying to pee and they've got people bothering them about their haircut and talking to them about their clothes. And that's just in their day to day. I think when kids have an incredible sense of intuition, and when they intuit that there are adults in their life that do not respect their humanity and that do not care about who they are, it just makes school so much harder. And school isn't easy in the first place, especially for queer or trans youth. So kids need protection, staff need support, and advocates and volunteers deserve flowers. So I just would like to implore the body in front of me and all of the people in this room to do all that we can to employ all of the tools we have in our toolkit to support and protect queer youth. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone is online, make sure you let us know if you want to make public comment. Carol, is it Leaner? Lewis, sorry. Sorry, I apologize.
Failure of the schools. Carol Lewis, I live in Amherst. My son went through this school a really long time ago, but he did. And I'm here because they're all of our kids. And I can't remain silent. As this school seems to be back in the muck that it was in a while ago. It cannot assure the safety of LGBTQ plus kids. I was at the Pride Assembly, and it was so heartening to hear the responses of the kids to that, to the amazing presentations. And so it was hopeful. It felt like a hopeful thing. So it saddens me greatly to know that the beautiful Pride bulletin boards that were also up came down in response to an exclusionary end-of-school party, one that required tickets from a staff member some students have no contact orders with. How can this be compatible with the affirming messages of the assembly? It can't be, and it wasn't, and LGBTQ plus students and their allies are left with an at best mixed message. Are we safe or are we targeted? Can we trust this school as a safe place? Are we okay being ourselves or not? Amherst can do better than this. I strongly urge the school committee to investigate its options to ensure that this lack of safety does not continue another day. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael?
Hi there. I'm Michael DeChiara. I'm a Shutesbury resident, and I think relevant to this, I was on school committee in Shutesbury for 9 years. I was on the region for several years, so I sat in those seats. And I imagine as you hear this testimony, you're probably thinking, what can we do? So I'll say there's 3 things that probably all of you know that school committees can do in Massachusetts. They're responsible for the budget, they're responsible for policy, and they're responsible for supervising the superintendent. The last 2 you can do. As an asterisk, there's also the bully pulpit, which you can do. So to be specific, to give you tools, I think for policies, there's things I would recommend. Look at policies that promote student safety, that promote parent and caregiver safety, that promote safety for staff who speak up. So that's one bucket of policy you can look at. Require regular public communication from the superintendent to the school committee around these issues and make sure that it's available to the public to see. You can ask her for that, and it should be required for getting updates. You should review the gaps in policy that allow these failures to occur and figure out how you fill those gaps with new policies or amendments to the existing policies. And then strengthen distinct personnel policy and accountability. You can oversee the personnel policy. In terms of supervising the superintendent, you all evaluate her on things, and I would say adding and very specifically evaluating her on student safety is essential. That's probably not in the usual state list, but it's critical for here. Evaluate her and require her to fully implement personnel policy and expand evaluation procedures. and then look at new and urgent ways for promoting safety. Ask her to do that and report back to you on a monthly basis when you meet. And then lastly, in many of the meetings, if not all the meetings when I was on school committee, we always came back to focusing on the kids. Oftentimes that was about academic success or social emotional needs. I would say the urgent need now is focusing on the kids' safety and the safety of the school. That is something you can do and center that discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeanette?
Hi, my name is Jeanette Wicks-Lim, and I'm Allie's partner, someone whom you all know. I was initially going to make a statement without reading from prepared notes, but given recent events, I decided it would be smarter for me to read from a written statement, so here goes. You will hear a lot about Allie's work and the work of the LGBTQIA+ caucus of Amherst and their concerns about school staff conduct that's harmful to queer students. So I'm not going to use my time to talk about that. Instead, I want to talk about what it was like to have law enforcement show up unexpected at our home. I was the person home along with our teenage daughter when a police officer came and knocked on our door looking for Allie to serve Allie with a harassment prevention order. As you can imagine, I was completely taken off guard. My immediate response was that this whole incident seemed absurd. I couldn't believe that someone, let alone a school staff member, would seek out this kind of legal order on Allie, who has been a tireless advocate for queer kids at the Amherst Middle School. But you don't have to take my word on the baseless nature of the legal order. This was the judge's assessment after an actual hearing took place to assess it. In the judge's assessment, there was failure to sustain the burden of proof, and the judge ordered law enforcement to destroy all copies of the order. That was just the morning after it was issued. So now that I've had a little bit of time to absorb what's happened, here's what I'm left feeling with. On the one hand, I guess I shouldn't be surprised given all the news we see these days about how weaponizing law enforcement and the criminal justice system is increasingly being used as an intimidation tactic for one's political enemies. On the other hand, I am surprised. I'm living that cliche of I can't believe this is happening in my town, that this is happening to my family. But it did. And so I want you to try to put yourself in our shoes. First, there's just the general chaos and upheaval that this incident caused. We all have busy lives. We all have many demands on our time. And many of you are probably in the same position that we are. We have young kids to take care of and aging family members. Most of us have both. When the police officer came knocking at our door late Sunday afternoon, we were in the middle of getting ready to leave town for a family reunion to celebrate my mother's 89th birthday after being diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Allie had to scramble to get to court before we left. It turned out that there was a hearing set the first thing the next morning, and they had no time to look for a lawyer, let alone to talk to one. But then there's also the intimidation and worry that comes from interacting with law enforcement at all, or anyone else with state-backed political or legal authority over you. For those of you who are members of a marginalized community, this will probably sound really familiar. For those of you who are not, try to put yourselves in our shoes. For many of us, it's a question that lives in the backs of our minds, a worry about how an interaction with law enforcement is going to go. You wonder about whether that person will treat you and judge you on the basis of your actions, or whether that person who holds power over you will treat you unfairly because that person doesn't like who you are. In the end, for all the disruption and worry that this person who filed the order caused for my family, the question that really has stuck in my mind is this the kind of person you want working with your kids that you're in charge of, that you're taking care of? Someone who's taken unjustified legal action against a school volunteer whose work is valued by the community, staff, and students. Legal action that sends a police officer to the volunteer's home. Is really this the person you want looking after the children you're responsible for? I hope that you take some time tonight to answer those questions, to really think about the answer to those questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Jenny? Jenny?
Hello, my name is Ginny Levy. I live in Northampton and am the parent of 2 adult children who identify as gay. I think frequently of how their lives might have been more comfortable if they had been in an environment where this sort of thing, gay life, was even acknowledged. And back in the 80s and 90s, it really wasn't, at least not where we were. And I feel as though being in an environment where you can figure out who you are is really critical, and it starts early. I sing in the Queer Joy Chorus, so I was at the event at the middle school where the singing happened and the kids were involved, and it was just a really joyful occasion. But there was sort of a overall tension that I sensed, and I just feel that for these kids, they need a place where they can be themselves. So I appreciate all that you do and hope that you can consider this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mara?
That was my mom. Hi, my name's Mara Levy. I've been volunteering at Amherst Middle School for the last several months. We've been coming, Allie and I have been coming at least once a week to volunteer at lunchtime. And I've also worked in schools for more than 20 years. I've seen a lot of different schools. They all have their dysfunctions. And I know that in a well-run school, every student is allowed to be their messy, complicated, unique self. And none of them are prevented from accessing the opportunities that are available to their peers for any reason. I have never encountered a school culture as chaotic, stressful, or even toxic as what I have witnessed at Amherst Regional Middle School. It is palpable when you walk in the door. Alongside genuine care and dedication, which are absolutely present, there's this frenetic, exhausted frustration among the adults who are trying to do their jobs with integrity and watching helplessly as other people ignore directives, violate established boundaries, and sow confusion among students and staff. This is not a place I would want to step into every day as an adult, and I can't imagine being a child who has no choice but to step into school here. I feel like there have been a lot of examples already, and I know that as a committee there are only certain things that you can do, so I want to speak particularly to the harm that has been done to students and adults who might want to speak up, who don't feel safe but don't know exactly what to do. Students who are going to events because there are free snacks being offered even though they have no contact orders with the person holding the event. Students who want to be in the club that is unsanctioned and unapproved, and who've gotten contradictory messages from the adults around them about whether or not they're allowed in. These students are looking for a way to fit in, and they're confused by the adults around them. And that is a problem that needs to keep going up and up and up until somebody actually addresses it. This is a systemic issue. This is a school culture issue. And these are things that you as the school committee are responsible for addressing when they are so harmful. I want to name that people have been showing up, but that they're really isolated. They're afraid because of what has happened to Allie, and we are all here to make sure that those people don't feel like they are alone. I have just a smidge over here on this page. Yes, what we're asking for. We're demanding accountability. We have submitted complaints and not received any response. We are demanding transparency, equity, and safety. We need the administration to answer publicly the question, how will you protect the adults who speak up for children now that the courts, I'm almost done, now that the courts have been weaponized? This community deserves an answer, and we are not going to look away. Thank you.
Thank you. Clay?
Good evening, school committee. My name is Clay Pearson. I am fondly known as the Gayer of Northampton. I've been a member of Rainbow Organizing and Response since its first actions at the Jones Library. And I'm the founder and director of Hampshire Pride, and I am the part-time caretaker of one of the students in Amherst Regional Schools. Tonight I am here because the events at Amherst Regional Middle School over the past weeks and months have demanded more than just statements of support. They demand action. I've witnessed the gaslighting of the LGBTQ plus youth into thinking they were safe at school. When I was twirling an umbrella, a rainbow umbrella, to welcome the students into the school and the auditorium during a Pride assembly. One of your staff members with a documented history of harmful interactions with queer and trans students made themselves a display, an uninvited display. And they rainbow washed themselves in front of everyone, as if they were a part of this action. Later, I saw the staff members' flyers for their exclusionary celebration of students, donning rainbow letters. The message students receive was clear. Inclusion is celebrated publicly, but not consistently practiced. For queer and trans youth, trust is built through actions, not slogans. When students are told they are safe, valued, their lives need to reflect that in their experiences to make that promise true. As we head into summer break, I urge this district to take some time to listen, to reflect, and make meaningful changes that prioritize your students. Accountability is not just punishment. Accountability is just punishment. Accountability is how trust is rebuilt. Hampshire Pride, the organization that I found and I'm the director of, stands ready to be a part of that work. And I would like to formally offer gender and sexuality and cultural competency training as a non-optional setting for all your school staff within the Amherst school system. We believe education creates understanding, and understanding creates safer environments for all students. I will close with a motto that guides my work. If you don't like truth, change it. Not by saying, but by doing. The truth is that many LGBTQ plus students and families do not feel fully safe. The question before the district is whether they will simply acknowledge that truth or they will take actions necessary to change it. Thank you, everyone.
Lucy?
Hi, my name is Lucy Gertz. I live up in Shutesbury. I'm a former public school teacher, and I am aware that the school committee has a limited influence over personnel. However, you do have influence over the superintendent. I'd like to urge you all to take the comments you're hearing tonight and go to the superintendent and find out what she's doing about these things, and encourage her to take these comments to whoever has supervisory capacity over certain staff members and see if these comments can be built into that person's evaluation. As a school teacher, I've taken advantage of personnel policy when I've needed it. It's a really important piece. And it does have working policy if the procedures are followed correctly, unlike what happened several years ago. So that's one thing I wanted to encourage, and thank you for hearing us all out tonight. It's a big group. I'm also the parent of 2 ARMS and ARHS graduates. My elder, I am proud to say, is a public school teacher elsewhere in the state. They are also a 30-year-old non-binary trans-masked person. They live very proudly out in their community. I called them and told them about this meeting coming up and about recent events, and I asked them what they thought. They are also very involved in their school's union, and this is a big union. Their first comment was personnel policy. Use that personnel policy, and they recounted how a staff member in their school who is not doing their job is now on a plan, whatever it's called, to track their behavior and if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that's one thing I wanted to relay to you. I also wanted to relay that I asked them, if you could tell the school committee anything about your experience when you were a student here, one thing they said was, wow, the staff was never a problem, the kids were a problem. They also wanted to say that LGBTQIA students encounter enough homophobia out in the world, this is almost their words, that coming to school should be a safe place where the adults that they encounter are emulating what they hope those students will go out and see in the world. And as members of the community, we all can take a part in having an impact on that. So thank you for hearing me tonight.
Thank you. Nancy?
Hi, my name is Nancy Sardison. I live in District 1, Precinct 2. I'm a 30-plus year resident of Amherst. I raised my 2 children in the Amherst public school system. I'm part of the lesbian wave, the migration of those of us who came to the Valley to raise our children. And I actually really will say with great pride that I felt of Amherst Regional Schools as a partner raising my children. They're wonderful teachers, and their experience here was very positive. Now, that was obviously not now. I came here with some things to say, but after reading the Indy article, I was not aware of what was happening until I read the Indy article, and I was just flabbergasted, and I still plan to come. But after listening to some of the testimony that's preceded me, all I can tell you is how angry I am. I'm a 72-year-old lifetime dyke. I was a queer kid, okay? The word lesbian I don't even think existed when I was a kid. It matters. What we do matters. We're the grown-ups in the room. I have so often said what a privilege it was to raise my children in the Valley, where there was some safety for them. This is, I can only tell you how angry I am. How angry I am, and disappointed, ashamed. We're the adults in the room. Do something, please.
Thank you. Amy DiCaprio?
Hello. My name's Amy Cronin DiCaprio. I'm the parent of a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old in the district. And I am having deja vu from when my older son was a student in the middle school here, when we were just starting to organize around these issues. And now my younger son is a rising 7th grader. I have spent the years in between organizing and advocating with many of the people in this room. But I am here tonight as the acting spokesperson for the LGBTQIA caucus of Amherst. So I'm going to read our comment. The LGBTQIA caucus of Amherst organized tonight's rally to send a simple message. Queer and trans students, staff, families, advocates, and community members deserve safety and protection within the systems where they learn, work, and advocate. Over the past several weeks, members of the caucus have observed a pattern of behavior by a staff member and a lack of accountability for rules broken that has caused harm to LGBTQIA+ students, staff, volunteers, and community members. For some, fear of retaliation stands in the way of reporting, but others have reported and have seen no evidence of consequences or change. Some students have been denied access to opportunities, activities, and rewards because protecting themselves from contacts with the staff member required them to opt out. Volunteers have been harassed while supporting students. Complaints have been submitted to the administration and have yet to receive a meaningful response. We believe many people within the district genuinely want to support LGBTQIA+ students, but good intentions are not enough. When harmful behavior continues without accountability, the system fails, and students and community members become vulnerable. Last week, these concerns escalated further when a queer community advocate and volunteer was served by police with a harassment prevention order sought by a staff member. Whatever its intent, the result was clear. A community member who has spent years advocating for students was forced to defend themselves in court. That experience sends a clear message that even LGBTQIA+ adults are not safe at arms, and it has had a chilling and silencing effect on others who may be considering speaking up on behalf of students. This is bigger than any one incident or any one individual. It is about whether the district is willing and able to respond when concerns are raised, whether policies are being implemented consistently, and whether accountability exists when harm occurs. The district has adopted policies addressing harassment, bullying, discrimination, and identity-based harm. Those policies are not symbolic statements. They are commitments to students. The community deserves to understand how those commitments are being implemented, enforced, and measured. We therefore call upon the superintendent to provide a public report on how these policies are functioning in practice. Including reporting procedures, investigation timelines, staff training, accountability measures, ensuring inclusion at school events, and protections for students and staff who experience harm. We will submit more specific language around this ask following this meeting. Students deserve more than promises. They deserve systems that work, accountability when harm occurs, and confidence that adults entrusted with their education will protect them. Thank you.
Thank you. We have someone online, Ellen. Ellen, if you're speaking, you're on. We can't hear you. Oh, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Phone is not working. Okay. I am Ellen. I'm writing or speaking to you tonight as myself and my partner, parents of 2 students in the ARP system. And we continue to be concerned with the district administration's failure to act decisively to protect our community's children from bullying, sexual harassment, and staff incompetence. Please hold those in upper administration overseeing these failures to account and help ensure that staff who have put our children in harm's way be stripped of responsibilities related to our children's activities and safety. We speak tonight about the actions and inactions of staff at the middle school who organized and ran the first Step Up Day for 6th graders to become familiar with the middle school before they transition in the fall. The organization and execution of the first Step Up Day and apparently subsequent actions by the staff person in charge resulted in a number of failures. Families were not made aware that Step Up Day was happening. The principal and vice principal were both absent on Step Up Day for this particular group of 6th graders. Other staff were apparently unavailable or perhaps were not requested to assist with the approximately 6 groups of 6th graders who were then shepherded through the middle school hallways and classrooms. This resulted in some groups of about 10 children to be led through the middle school hallways by 7th and 8th grade students with no supervision. During the Step Up tour, several negative incidents were relayed to us, but most relevant was an incident where our 6th grade neurodivergent student was sexually harassed by middle school students in the hallway, where the students were speaking about our child's body parts, using sexually explicit language, and laughing. The incident resulted in one of the middle school student group leaders having to intercede on my child's behalf. We are grateful for that student's actions. However, this is not a responsibility that any adult in charge should delegate to a 13 or 14-year-old. It's a dereliction of duty on behalf of the staff person who organized the events. This occurred in early May, and in the following weeks, we spoke with administrators and were told that the person overseeing Step Up Day was no longer in charge of that event. But we've now learned that that person has continued to be involved and were involved in other Step Up Day activities for the other sixth grades coming from different schools. Even after we had raised this issue, the person whose dereliction of duties resulted in our child being harmed and also undoubtedly stressed for the other student who felt the responsibility to stand up for them. We don't understand why this person was allowed to continue to be overseeing any of the activities in Step Up Day, even after we raised the issue. Our students should not have to shoulder the burden of the failures of the staff in our schools. Our district leaders need to be held accountable for their actions and inactions. And as the commenter said earlier, we are the adults in the room. Please do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen?
Good evening. My name's Colleen Jordan. I'm a Northampton resident. I'm here tonight to also represent Hampshire Pride, where I'm a community organizer and a committee member. I'm a business owner in Northampton. I'm a licensed mental health counselor who specializes in gender-affirming care for over 15 years. I see students from your district. I know families who live here, and you have a crisis. It cannot be understated that the attitudes, policies, and actions of a school district impact families. Children who are trans are 7 times more likely to contemplate suicide than their peers. The 2024 national survey by the Trevor Project that surveyed 18,000 LGBTQIA youth found more than 1 in 10 attempted suicide in the last year. That's attempted. There are children in this community who are holding a lot of emotions about being rejected, being disenfranchised, and being not allowed to exist. I will be sitting with families in their grief. I will be sitting with children, hopefully building a future where they can receive health care, which is also under debate right now. Your actions here matter. I'm gonna leave you with a suggestion. Do you know how many children feel harmed by what's happening right now? And if you don't, I strongly suggest an outside agency do a survey for your school district where you interview children, adults, staff members, and find out exact statistics on how many people are holding harm. And with that, maybe use that to inform policies, oversight, holding the superintendent accountable, etc. I hope sincerely that there is not a death in this community, and I'm holding that you are on the edge of it. Listen to the children. This moment in history is more than safe spaces. We're on the edge of brave spaces, and what that means is having difficult conversations that help the most marginalized people. Thank you.
River?
Hello, excuse me. Hello, everyone. My name is River. I live in Northampton. I'm also here representing Hampshire Pride. While I do not have a direct connection to anyone in this district, I consider all queer people my family, and that includes queer children. As a mother of 2 queer children myself, they're all my kids. This district has policies that prohibit retaliation against students and staff who report misconduct, discrimination, harassment, or other concerns. And prior to this, at the rally outside, I heard a number of reports of people who do not feel safe, who have experienced retaliation for reporting, and that cannot be allowed to continue. Policies do not create safety. Action with those policies create safety. When students, families, and staff members believe that speaking up may result in negative consequences, these policies become symbolic. What concerns me is not whether retaliation is prohibited on paper What concerns me is that the perception among many of the members of this community is that reporting concerns carries risk. What is the purpose of this policy if the district is unwilling or unable to enforce it? How are students supposed to feel safe reporting misconduct when the individuals that have been reported continue to cause harm? What protections are currently in place for students and staff who report concerns? And how are you knowing that this policy is doing what it's supposed to do? Yeah, so I guess I'm asking the school committee to ensure that students and children are not the ones shouldering the responsibility and the stress of their concerns falling on deaf ears, and that the stress of these issues be put back onto adults where the responsibility belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Pfeiffer?
Everyone. Thanks. I'm Mike Pfeiffer. I'm a parent of a former Amherst Regional Public School system student. I have a statement here from a community member who was too afraid of retaliation to speak publicly. A student's full-time job is to learn, and a student cannot learn what they do not feel safe, supported, and protected. When something disrupts or interferes with this, it's our job to step up and ensure whatever is interfering with their basic right to learn stops. When a staff member is the one interfering with any student's sense of safety, then there should not be a debate about whether we should do something about it. It is a fundamental Massachusetts law that no person shall be excluded or discriminated against in obtaining the advantages, privileges, and courses of study in such public school on the account of gender identity or sexual orientation. Here, LGBTQIA+ students are not only being excluded and discriminated against, but they are also being bullied by the very staff that they are supposed to support and protect them. It does not have to be a massive event for students to feel uncomfortable, but rather complying in an environment where safety is uncertain. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 370, clearly states that bullying is written, verbal, or electronic expression, or a physical act, or gestures of any combination thereof that create a hostile environment at school for the victim, infringes on the rights of the victim at school, or materially or substantially disrupts the education process or the orderly operation of school. Under this law, staff members are explicitly listed as potential sources for bullying. We have heard and will continue to hear about how ARMS fails to protect their students from bullying by staff members. A student's only job should be to learn, not to worry about their own safety from the very staff members that are supposed to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you. Trish Parker?
Hi, thanks for being here tonight and letting us talk. My name is Trish Parker. I am the mother of 2 queer kids. We're now queer young adults, and I'm a nurse in Northampton for 12 years. I'm the lead nurse in a clinic that treats patients from all over this area. I just am here to say I don't feel like this is okay. I've raised 2 queer kids going through these schools, not your school districts, but Western Mass school districts, and they need to be safe in school. I've had many patients who've survived those teen years. They are rough. They shouldn't be. They don't have to be. Not feeling safe in school. It's a huge part of the trauma they deal with, the pain they deal with, the sometimes self-loathing they deal with. If you feel like adults are not accepting you, you turn it in on yourself, and it's not okay. I also volunteer weekends, helping to protect and stay on the line with trans and other kids. It's not okay to go after your volunteers. Adults are here to help. They're putting their time and their money and their life's time, spirit on the line to help these kids. In this environment, in our political environment, to turn the courts against a school volunteer who's worked for years to help your queer kids, it's just so not okay. What are we doing? How is that Western Mass? Thank you. Thank you for listening. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Amy Ledwell?
Good evening. My name is Ami Ledwell. I am a queer mother, a teacher, and a parent of a non-binary teen. It is imperative that Amherst schools are a safe place for all people, students, staff, and volunteers. We are all connected. We are all related. All these kids are all of our kids. It is our job to keep them safe. It is the job of queer adults to stand up for and protect queer youth. It is hard enough being a kid, never mind a queer kid. I know from experience. We know that gender affirmation is life-saving. We know that respecting pronouns is suicide prevention. We know that it is not okay to have staff in our schools that doesn't actively support and work to prevent harm to our marginalized kids, our kids. When we know better, we should do better. How will those in charge of the Amherst schools take action to do better? Katapatan Tamawash, thank you.
Thank you. Eleanor?
Hi, my name is Eleanor Trotsky. I'm a transgender lesbian who lives in the area. My pronouns are she, her. I have just cut my family vacation short, driven 961 miles across the country to be with you here tonight. The last time I spoke to this group was nearly a year ago. I read the words of a student who was directly harmed by the staff at Amherst Regional Middle School. Today, I'm speaking for myself. For the past year, I've watched this committee put on supportive t-shirts and sit around and discuss policies, procedures, bylaws, and committees. And after all of that discussion, what do we have to show for it? Amherst Regional Middle School is just as unsafe today as it was a year ago, which is just as unsafe as it was 3 years ago. Some of you were on this committee at the time. Some of you are new faces. But to me, it doesn't make a difference. Every single one of you has made the decision to occupy a position of power over the children in this school district. What are you choosing to do with that power? Are you prioritizing the safety of the children, or are you prioritizing your own sense of comfort and stability? How many more times do we need to come here and beg you to do your jobs and protect these kids? How many more times do we need to cut our hearts open and bleed for you before this is taken seriously? How many more children need to be hurt before meaningful change happens in these schools? I'll leave with this. What is the point of power if it's not used to protect the most vulnerable among us? If all of your combined brains cannot find a way to make your schools a safe place for all of our children, then I respectfully ask you to resign and make way for someone who's willing and able to do the work. Thank you.
Gabrielle?
Good evening. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Gabriel Peoples. I am a non-binary trans social worker. I use they, them pronouns. I have been working with queer and trans youth for over 15 years and also worked with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education doing education for school districts when the Massachusetts general law was updated to include gender identity and expression in non-discrimination laws, including in schools. And so I'm used to going into schools and talking with teachers about how to keep kids safe. And I'm used to talking with kids about how to talk to adults to make sure that their voices are heard, and when they're being hurt, somebody does something so that stops. And what I tell kids is if they go to an adult and they tell them that something is happening and they are not okay, and that adult doesn't do anything, to find somebody else and keep finding somebody else until something is done and they are okay. Because there cannot be learning and there cannot be hope for a future if there is not safety for our kids. And so I implore you, as everyone else has who's spoken today, to do everything in your power to hold the superintendent accountable, to make sure that policies are being enacted, so that our kids are being supported and so that they can be safe in Amherst schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Lopez. Sorry, I'm just setting a timer because I know that I'm going to run long. Great, let's figure this out. So my name is Alex Lopez. I live at 265 Potwine Lane, South Amherst. I'm a parent to 3 kids in ARPS, including one at the middle school currently and one who's coming in next year. Hearing what our sibling just said really speaks a lot to my experience because I am reminded of the fact that at least when I was a kid, we taught people who had survived sexual assault not to yell rape, but to yell fire. And unfortunately, I feel like given the responsiveness of ARPS, I am going to talk about something that I think you might care about instead of queer children to get to the point of what is happening within ARPS right now. So heterosexuality isn't going to save any of our kids, just to be really clear. I have started the school year with my kids being called the N-word, abandoned, lost by the school bus on the other end of an impassable pit. But I'm sure you heard all about that because Dr. Z said she was working with the town and going to make sure that we improved communications. Based on the looks on your faces, I'll give you the emails so that you actually know what happened, since it's clear none of that was reported to you. By the way, the end of the year, same school bus, kid kicked off 1.5 miles from their home and told to suck my dick by the school bus driver. I was told they'll follow up with me about that. I'm still waiting for when that'll happen. So now that we've established the responsiveness of this school district with just the basic whereabouts of my children, let's talk about how they handle it when things go badly. My daughter walks into school one day and finds out that a friend of hers is being insinuated to be in pornographic images that are being shared around on Snapchat. My daughter does the right thing and supports her friend. As a part of that, adults overhear that conversation, start interrogating that, and the dominant narrative amongst the students does not become, oh, some of our friends are committing a heinous felony crime, but instead it becomes, we have a problem, and that problem is the snitch. By the way, that word snitch will be later used by at least 4 members of staff to describe my child. So during that time process, the dominant narrative becomes that we need to deal with the snitch, not to actually deal with the problem in the first place. And so that sexual predatory behavior continues. That sexual predatory behavior gets protected at the same time that they called the shelter in place so that my kid could go home safely. The next day when I showed up to pick her up, she was left alone in the lobby, even though she had called home to say she still didn't feel safe in the school building. When I went to pick her up, she told me that we still needed to sign out. I don't know how I raised a rule follower. So we went into the office where a guidance counselor, Mrs. Delinda Dykes, looks at me and asks my 12-year-old if that's her brother looking at me, and then continues to say, oh, it's your dad? You have a good-looking dad. I have no fear about repeating this because she's acknowledged it. This is in writing. This happened. She emailed her union rep in her apology to make sure this was in writing. When I pointed out the fact that I have no power to hire, fire, and was really questioning why she was contacting outside union people on a communication with parents, she then communicated with me through her personal email. Now, the school district can't actually, or has not given me a response yet on what they're going to do about the personal email and the violation of Open Meeting Act. They haven't given me any assurance on how I'm supposed to feel safe coming back into the building. But most damning of all of this, they were unable for a month to give me any reassurance that my child was safe walking back into the building. Principal Rodriguez never emailed me to even reply. Dr. Brault replied that we would have to wait because MCAS was going on that week. So my child continued to show up day after day to a school building, unsure if she was going to make it home without being jumped. And the only correspondence
I had with with Principal Rodriguez was when I met him in person. He said, "Oh, are you trying to talk to me about Ms. Dykes?" That is a distraction to the safety of our students. And the fact that we know that children are being abandoned on street corners because of a bus company that can't get them to where they're supposed to be, when we know that there are children who are being threatened in their school by the staff who are supposed to be there to protect them, and we can't do anything about it because we're too distracted by an individual's personal sexualized agenda, that's shameful. Our kids deserve better than that.
Emily?
Yeah.
Pfeiffer? Yes, go ahead, sorry. I don't know how I checked you off, I apologize.
That's fine. You didn't want to hear it, I know. That's fine.
We do.
Thank you for speaking up.
Of course, thanks. My name is Emily Pfeiffer. I'm the parent of a former Amherst School student. Maya Angelou said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." She explained that people know themselves much better than you do. That's why it's important to stop expecting them to be something other than who they are. But I'm one of those stubborn people, and I keep trying. I want to believe that people can learn and change. This school system has been through a process with the community over the past few years that I hoped, until very recently, had led to crucial learning and necessary change. Dr. Angelou didn't say when someone tells you who they are. She said when someone shows you. Amherst schools are showing themselves right now, and what a disappointment it is to see what you're showing the community. Amid rainbow-washed hallways, lit up like a beacon by and for the marginalized community that this school system has harmed, closely following a major event that was starting to heal it, the system allowed further harm. A party that's advertised using rainbows, that's posted alongside pride decorations, and that creates a barrier to entry for queer kids further harms that community. The way things are going in this school system right now isn't working. There don't seem to be successful efforts to rein in actions that other queer students. I can't speak to someone else's motives, but I can observe the outcomes of their actions. Forcing students to approach a single staff person, against whom many have a no-contact order, to request entry to a school-sanctioned event that they can't attend, creates distance between these students and their peers, literally othering them. The LGBTQIA+ community already suffers so much othering. During Pride Month of all times, allowing this to happen was a mistake. And now a queer organizer's been targeted. This is a slippery slope. When activists who do everything by the book are being targeted with unfounded legal action, it can create fear within the community. Again, I can't speak to anyone else's motives, but I do wonder whether that was the intent. Whether the threat of legal action was intended to deter folks like us from showing up at times like this, and I'm really glad to see it didn't work. Now, right? Thank you. Now I'm asking the district leadership to please do better. Don't let actions like these continue. Don't allow Amherst schools to be a place where LGBTQIA+ students are made to feel excluded from the fun. I don't know your motivations either for allowing this harm, but I hope it's not fear. Because if the adults aren't willing to stand up for what's right, where does it leave the students? Who is standing up for them, modeling advocacy and protection, preventing harm, and showing them what it really means to create a safe space that deserves to wear the rainbows? Thank you.
Thank you. Allie Wixlem.
This may be messy. I'm exhausted. My name is Allie Wixlem. I'm an organizer, a volunteer, and a queer adult who needs you to hear that right now your middle school is not a safe or healthy place for people like me of any age. My question is that okay with you? And if it isn't, what are you going to do about it? By now you know that one of your staff members filed a harassment prevention order against me, placing me in contact with the police and as a defendant before a judge who found that the complaint did not meet the burden of proof and terminated it. I spoke outside quite a bit about what it means for someone like me to have been targeted in this way and about the cost of this targeting. I wish you'd all been there to hear it. I wish the superintendent had been there to hear it. The fear and anxiety about what might come next from someone who would do something like this are not lost on me. I will say that my wife left early tonight, not because our 15-year-old needs a parent home at all times, but because at this moment, we're not sure when the police might show up at our door, and we would like her not to have to handle that by herself. It is also not lost on me that events I was involved in leading up to this included supporting kids during lunchtime, decorating the middle school for Pride Month, welcoming students to school with rainbows and bubbles, and holding an assembly about queer joy. I hope that's not lost on you either. Transparency asks us to be truth tellers, even when the truth is difficult. The truth right now is that we are in an uncomfortably similar place to where we were a few years ago. The middle school is chaotic, staff are stressed, students are struggling. Unlike 3 years ago, we have an administration and school committee that largely sees and will acknowledge the problems. Unfortunately, you have been unable to address them. That has to change. You have to see the emergency here, and you have to address it. Accountability asks us to address the problems. When a staff member can harass queer and trans volunteers, people that I brought in to support a school event, at a Pride event with no consequence, there's an accountability problem. When a staff member can create situations where some students are welcomed and offered prizes, rewards, privileges, and special foods or events while others must opt out in order to protect themselves, that is an accountability problem. When a staff member can ignore rules with no consequences, there's an accountability problem. When staff can see and name that students are being placed in impossibly difficult situations but cannot affect change without putting themselves at risk, there's an accountability problem. The climate at the middle school, oh, sorry, I missed a line, and this one's important. When queer people trying to protect queer people are confronted by so-called allies who work for your district and feel entitled to tell us how to protect our people, there's an accountability problem and a training problem. The climate at the middle school is unhealthy and it is impacting students and staff, and it has become an unsafe place for queer and trans people. I recognize the challenges the district is facing, and at the same time, something has to change because this is not sustainable. Personnel issues may not be able to be discussed. That is the answer we consistently get. This is a personnel issue. But if those personnel issues were adequately addressed, we would see change. Instead, we see the same patterns repeating with no consequence. We are here tonight because we protect us. That's what you're seeing behind me. And we are asking you to protect the children of this community when they're not with their families, when they're not with their queer community. In the comments section of the Indy article that people have referenced here, the caucus posted about recent events, an armed staff member commented, "My question is, how do you stop a tornado? You can't stop a tornado, but you also cannot ignore one. You can make a plan for what to do and follow that plan. You can make policies and you can proceduralize them and you can follow the procedures and you can track whether those procedures are being followed. You can recognize and name that a tornado is coming. You can move people out of its path. You, institutionally, have the people and the structures in place to support that work. And when you don't support that work, you leave individuals vulnerable. Last week, I was that individual. I appreciate every one of you for all that you do, and I need you to do better.
So that is the last person on the list. Does anyone else want to make public comment? If you do, you can come up to the mic.
Were there no recorded comments?
We haven't gotten to that yet.
Hi, I wasn't going to speak tonight. My name's Karen Ott. I am a parent of a high school student. I had 2 kids go through the regional schools. I have a rising senior, and something that happened recently relates to this, and I thought I would share it. It kind of occurred to me over with an aha moment of the consequences. So my kiddo was at the middle school when I was relentlessly bullied, anti-trans bullying for a couple of years. Nobody did anything about it. We spoke up about it, and nobody did anything about it. And we're, are really lucky and blessed and that he made it through it. And he's thriving in the high school. I know it's not a perfect place, but he's thriving there, gets to be a kid, just do all the dumb high school stuff and fun and exciting and exhilarating things, sports, academics, clubs, is loving it. And so he decided to lead a tour for the rising middle schoolers with another high school student, and they did, and he was so excited about it. And somebody in his group, one of the middle schoolers, led off with anti-trans slurs, and it was shitty, right? Like horrible. My kid's strong, resilient, not like he hasn't had these experiences in other places. It's not a new experience for him. And so what did he do? He got through the rest of the tour and then said, you know what, I'm checking out for the day. Came home, got some soothing, talked to friends, got support from his community, and, we're just felt kind of used to it. And he's used to it because for 2 years, and so I was sitting back here thinking, oh, we talked about, why didn't he tell anyone? He's got all these supports of the school. He's got teachers he trusts, administrators he loves, huge friend group, all these people he knows he could go to and tell. And I'm sitting back there and I'm like, oh, I know why he didn't say anything, because for 2 years, when he was relentlessly bullied, he told everyone. He told every teacher he had. He told every administrator he had. He told us. We told the principal. We told the people who were charged with dealing with bullying, and no one dealt with it. No one followed the policy. There weren't the procedures and accountability in place to make sure that you could have a great policy, but if nobody's following up on, is it getting reported? What are we doing about it? What are the consequences? What's happening? Nothing happens. So I have a kiddo who's, almost an adult now, who's learned from his experience at the Amherst Regional Middle School that you can tell people in power over and over and over again, even people who say they care about you, and chances are they're not going to do anything about it, and it's up to me to deal with it. So I just want to let you know he's doing great, but there are consequences, long-term consequences to not getting this shit right. So sorry. So please, the policy's not enough. It's the proceduralizing, the devil's in the details. It's following up, it's the accountability, it's the process and procedures, and the relentless pursuit of making that accountability public and school-wide, committee-wide, region-wide. So I implore you to get that right.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room want to make public comment? Oh, go ahead. Come on up.
My name is Christine Chmalski, and this is my first time at this high school. So as a new incoming person, you look around and you see what's out there for the kids and just get a sense of what the school is like other than what I had been hearing the last few days. Just in this library alone, let me see, there are 6 posters that talk about how inclusive the school is, or excuse me, presents itself. And I just want to ask that let's make these posters true. The kids should not be dealing with any of this harm. It's trauma, and they should not be having to face that at school. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else want to make public comment? Okay, we're going to move to voicemails.
Hello, my name is Todd Fruth. I'm a music teacher at Amherst Regional High School, and I'm calling in support of updating stipend language for performing arts educators, club advisors, and coaches. Amherst Regional Public Schools offer an array of outstanding programming that exists outside of the school day, from clubs to athletics to performing arts. These activities require staff who will have direct contact time with students, often at very public-facing events. For many students, these activities are the reason they feel connected to school. They're where students discover a passion, find a community, develop leadership skills, and gain confidence. They are not peripheral, they are essential. The challenge is that our compensation structure has not kept pace with the reality of what is being asked of the staff leading these activities. Stipends have remained unchanged for decades. In others, significant responsibilities receive little or no compensation at all. As expectations have grown, the language and funding supporting this work have not grown with them. What is being proposed is not extravagant. It is an attempt to acknowledge the actual work that is already happening and to create a system that is clearer, fairer, and more sustainable going forward. I also think this is about the future. The opportunities our students enjoy today exist because dedicated educators continue to volunteer enormous amounts of time, but we cannot assume that model will sustain itself indefinitely. If we want strong music programs, theater productions, clubs, athletics, and other extracurricular opportunities to thrive, we need structures that recognize and support the people who make them possible. I hope you'll view this proposal not simply as a discussion about stipends, but as an investment in the experiences that help make our schools vibrant places for students to learn, grow, and belong. Thank you for your consideration.
Hello, my name is Ashley Dunn. I am a resident of Sunderland and the drama teacher at Amherst Regional Middle School. Being a performing arts teacher in this district is a blessing. Anywhere I look, there is no shortage of appreciation from our community. Our department puts immense muscle, hours, and heart into creating performing arts opportunities for all learners, both during and after school. After-school performances are an irreplaceable piece of a performing arts program. These events bring our community together, provide meaningful student growth, and offer real-life, hands-on experiences for young performers. We submitted a proposal to adjust the performing arts stipend language in our contract so that we can sustain this programming on more than just our love for the work. Running on goodwill alone is simply not sustainable. In our proposal, you will see a breakdown of our labor and exactly how much of it goes unpaid. Our proposal includes stipend increases to match inflation and the practices of nearby districts. In fact, our data shows that staff members in neighboring districts make roughly double the amount we do for the stipends that currently exist. Firstly, our proposal also includes stipends for ensemble and dance program concerts, competitions, and events. These require hours of labor and are completely unpaid here, yet staff members in identical roles nearby are fully compensated for this exact time. Despite this stark reality, the district's proposal wants to raise existing stipends by only 1% and to completely reject stipends for ensemble and dance programs. I have resubmitted our full proposal to you all via email today, and I strongly urge this school committee to reflect on that data more closely before making a final decision. What we are asking for, frankly, is the dignity to make more than a fraction of the minimum wage or nothing at all for the vital work we do. Our community depends on our programming to flourish, and it does so because of our goodwill. We do not want to slow down, and our kids need these creative outlets now more than ever. I love my job. I tell my students all the time that I'm one of the luckiest people on earth because I get to be their drama teacher. I hope you will reconsider our proposal. We are not asking for anything extraordinary. We are asking for what is fair. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Paige Graham, and I am the chorus and music teacher at Amherst Regional Middle School. I'm calling regarding the proposed stipend revisions for performing arts teachers. I wanted to share my concern that our current contract language and stipends no longer reflect the reality of our programs. Performing arts teachers plan, supervise, and lead concerts, festivals, and other performances outside of contract hours, and this time is completely uncompensated. The events add up to hundreds of hours of work each year. If each event lasts about 3 hours and involves 2 teachers, we're looking at nearly 400 hours of unpaid labor across the department. In many cases, these events actually require 3 adults, and we're supervising well over 100 students. These performances are essential to our students' education and our connection with the community. They build the students' confidence and create opportunities for collaboration and showcase the tremendous work happening in our classrooms. Every other district in Hampshire County compensates performing arts teachers for this time, and I respectfully ask that you reconsider this portion of the budget and support updating the stipend structure to reflect the demands of our current programs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Thompson. I've lived in Pelham, Mass for the past 2 years, and I'm calling to offer a few thoughts. I'm interested in being a part of sending a clear message that queer and trans students, staff, faculty, or families, advocates, and community members deserve safety and protection within the systems where they work, learn, and advocate. I insist that the Amherst Regional Public Schools address harmful staff conduct before it causes further harm to students, families, staff, or community members. And I believe we must make it visible that the people on the front lines of this work are supported by a community that will not tolerate harm to LGBTQIA+ people. And I am glad to be present on the phone, leaving this message to be a part of this messaging. Thanks for listening, and I hope you will act accordingly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Bechtold. I live in Montague, Massachusetts, but I am the department head for the performing arts for the Amherst Regional School, which includes our dance, theater, band, orchestra, and choral programs. I'm writing in response to the question of whether or not to update stipends given to teachers in our department for the many hours spent with our students in concert, rehearsals, and other events that routinely happen outside the contracted teaching day. At present, much of this work is simply unpaid. The work is paid based on numbers from over 25 years ago, and the negotiations to bring those stipends, small as they are, into the 21st century, have been taken fairly unseriously by those at the table so far. We are severely underrepresented and underpaid for some of the most crucial work we do. In many corners of our schools, summative assessments like final exams and papers are conducted in a classroom and evaluated by the teacher. In our department, most of our summative assessments are public-facing performances that happen after school. They are as authentic as assessments get, real performances by our students for live audiences. Often, the school rightfully touts and holds up these performances and our other successes as evidence of our students' achievement, the school's vaunted arts programming in the region, and as a standard for positive school culture. A crucial part of my job as the theater company director is to produce meaningful productions from each year, from the Student Play Festival to the school musical. While my in-school classes are parts and introductions of theater making, there's no substitute for the real part of the show. We produce over 6 productions a year. I spend over 2 hours for rehearsals and up to 6 production weeks every day after school. My car has been the last one in the parking lot for more years than hours than I can count. For that year of work and the season of productions, I was paid less than a JV ultimate coach, which I used to be as far back as the early 2000s and up to 2019. I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I feel like increasingly the school knows that we care about our students and our programs, and they're relying on that to fund their programs. Instead, we are asking for fair pay and for visibility and the value of what we do. We also know that our work brings and keeps students back from PVPA and other schools, and believe that the money alone recouped from those student tuitions would more than pay for these increases. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amber Cano Martin, and I'm a parent of 2 children in the Amherst Public Schools. I'm also currently serving as one of the town councilors from District 2 in Amherst, but I'm speaking tonight as a concerned community member. I'm here tonight because I'm deeply concerned about the unsafe situation for queer and transgender youth that has been unfolding at the middle school. Specifically, that a staff person was reinstated to their job at the beginning of this school year despite having been documented to have engaged in behaviors that were harmful to trans and queer youth at the middle school in the past. Many of us as parents attempted to try to keep our kids safe by sending no contact orders between our children and the staff member, including myself. Unfortunately, we have heard time and time again that these no contact orders have not been respected and that this staff person has been interacting with students that they are not authorized to interact with in ways that they are not authorized to interact with them. I'm asking tonight that the administration, including the superintendent and the leadership in the building, redouble their efforts to document this inappropriate and harmful behavior and to take disciplinary action when it is needed. I also ask that the administration communicate actively with the community about what is being done about this issue, since we are in the position of hearing about these disturbing incidents and behavior with essentially no information about what those in positions of authority and responsibility are doing about it. If we can't see that the culture in the building is improving and that kids are feeling safe, it's hard to believe that any steps are being taken or that the steps that are being taken are effective. Let's not forget that the stakes are incredibly high, and we know that our LGBTQIA+ youth have higher risks of mental health problems and or substance abuse issues, to name a few, if the adults in the community don't step up to ensure that they have an affirming educational environment free of bullying and discrimination. Finally, I would like to briefly address the unfortunate action taken by an armed staff member by seeking a harassment prevention order against Allie Wicks-Lim, a community volunteer who was volunteering at the middle school during Pride Month with the LGBTQIA+ caucus. Whatever the staff member's intent was, the impact of deploying the police judicial system in this way has the potential to be chilling on people in our community who want to stand up for and protect queer and trans children. We cannot allow this tactic to be used in this way in our community. In showing up for and supporting Allie as a community, we are showing that no one stands alone and that we have each other's backs as we do this important work of creating safe and affirming spaces for all of our children, including our LGBTQIA+ students. So thank you, Allie, and thanks, school committee, for listening. I hope that you will take this into account and take action appropriately. Thank you.
This is the last one.
Hello, my name is Jonesy Bones, and I live in the Berkshires. Amherst Regional Middle School states on its website that it does not discriminate on the basis of gender, gender identity, or sexual orientation in admission to, access to, employment in, or treatment within its programs and activities. Given that commitment, it's deeply concerning that an activity was permitted to operate on an invitation-only basis or through access controlled by an individual whose history has raised serious safety concerns among LGBTQ+ students and members of the school community. This individual has reportedly been the subject of no contact orders involving some students and is someone around whom certain students do not feel safe. Under these circumstances, allowing that individual to control access to a school-related activity raises significant questions about student safety, inclusion, and equitable participation. The concern extends beyond the individual event itself. It's troubling that an individual associated with conduct that has caused harm and exclusion is placed in a position where they may continue to influence which students are able to participate. When LGBTQ+ students are effectively excluded from opportunities available to their peers, the school's stated commitment to protecting and supporting those students is undermined. A school cannot credibly claim to celebrate, support, and safeguard LGBTQ+ students while simultaneously permitting practices that exclude them, make them feel unwelcome, or place them in situations where they must choose between their sense of safety and participation in community activities. Such actions send a conflicting message and risk eroding students' trust in the institution's commitment to their well-being. LGBTQ+ youth already face significant barriers, including exclusion, marginalization, and concerns for their safety in many areas of society. Educational institutions have a responsibility to counter these forces by fostering environments that are genuinely inclusive and protective of all students. I urge Amherst Regional Middle School to carefully examine whether its actions are consistent with its stated values and non-discrimination policies. Most importantly, I ask that the school take meaningful steps to ensure that all students, particularly those from vulnerable and historically marginalized communities, have equal access to opportunities, are treated with dignity and respect, and can participate without fear of exclusion or harm. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the public that wants to make a comment before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay. Thank you. Did not receive any reports from liaison or subcommittees. Does anyone have anything they want to bring forward?
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Let's take a 3-minute recess. We'll compromise. So it's 8:04. We'll be back at 8:07. Thanks. Yes. So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and giving public comment. The next thing on the, we move to new and continuing business. Before we get started, I did want to say that I appreciate being able to sit here in this role. My goal is simple, is to help create meetings that are respectful, productive, and focused on the work before us. We won't always agree, but I believe we can engage thoughtfully, listen to one another, and remain focused on what is best for our students to help ensure everyone has the opportunity to participate and that we can move through our agenda. I'll be using a simple visual reminder tonight to see if it works. I don't know. A yellow card that will indicate that a member should begin wrapping up their comments, and a red card to indicate that it's time to conclude so we can hear from others and continue our work. This isn't intended to limit discussion, but rather to help us be mindful of time and make space for all voices. At the center of our work is creating schools where every student feels safe, valued, and respected, and that they belong. Thank you. So first item is introduction of the new high school principal.
Good evening, everyone.
We can't hear you.
You speak up, please. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This evening, I have the honor of introducing Dr. Mark Gomes. Dr. Gomes was selected from a comprehensive search that included input from students, staff, families, administrators, and community members. Throughout the process, he demonstrated a strong commitment to student success, educational excellence, collaborative leadership, and fostering an inclusive school environment. One of the key things I remember from my two interviews with Dr. Gomes was his honesty, his integrity, his ability to reflect, and to identify not just his areas of strength, but areas where he is willing to collaborate and grow in. So prior to these positions, Dr. Gomes held leadership roles in New York City, Montgomery Public Schools. He most recently served as the assistant principal at Vancico Prep Academy in Springfield Public Schools, and previously worked as the network principal for alternative education campuses in Jefferson County Public Schools, Colorado. So Dr. Gomes will work closely with students, family, staff, and community partners to build upon the strengths of Amherst Regional High School while continuing to advance opportunities for student learning, engagement, and success. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Gomes. And Dr. Gomes is here with us virtually this evening. Please note that he has not officially started, and I think that this would be a warm and wonderful introduction for him. Dr. Gomes? I think he's on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Sorry. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to join the Amherst community.
Thank you.
Can we say anything?
Sure. If you want to make comments, I think I saw Anna first.
I was just wondering how much of the public comment Dr. Gomes was able to listen to, and if he had any comment about the public comment.
Yes, I've been here since 6 o'clock. I've been on. So yes, I've heard everything, and I would love the opportunity to hold conversations, listen to the community, and do the best job that I can to support all students, staff members, caregivers who attend Amherst Regional Public Schools.
Sarah, you had your hand up, I believe.
Yeah, this is Sarah Marshall. Are you on camera? If you are, we're not seeing you, but.
So I tried to, it says that here we go. Now I can go. Let's see. Here it is.
Okay, wonderful.
There we are.
All right.
Good evening, everyone.
I just wanted to say welcome. Very happy to meet you. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you all as well.
Tim?
Congratulations, Dr. Gomes. Welcome to ARPS. I was with you in the interview committee. I learned a lot from the interview with you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you were selected. And I want to say that, you know, you picked a really good meeting to join for your, you know, inaugural introduction. And please, you know, pay a lot of attention to all the public comment that we heard tonight and look into the history behind it, because it's not the first public comment session we've had on the matter of LGBTQIA students and other community members needing attention to their safety from authorities. That's going to be important going forward to understand the history, and I'll be happy to talk with you more about that, and as well as other topics. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other committee members have a comment or a question? Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you when you start.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Dr. Gomes.
No problem. Thank you, Dr.
The next item is presentation of the regional school climate data collection and analysis plan. Are you leading this, Dr. Z?
I am. I believe everything was attached. So I don't know how deep the committee would like me to go. I think I just would like to keep it brief and higher level. So attached you will see a draft plan for the collection and analysis of the climate data. We've already, work that's already been completed at the broader scope is we've already identified through the individuals that work with us at Elevate K-12 to develop our surveys. They've already begun the work on our staff survey, student survey, community and caregiver surveys. So we've already, I've already reviewed the questions for that. Additional work that will be completed is from the feedback on those surveys. There will be focus groups and interviews that will be completed across various groups so that we can get a comprehensive vision of what's happening in the districts. Some of the work that's already started and is ongoing at the middle school, because I felt that the middle schools needed something completely different. The Joy and Justice group through the collaborative have been working with us since December of 2025 to kind of focus in and provide some targeted support. They've already done listening sessions with staff members and various student representative groups. They've worked with the leadership team to provide initial feedback. They have some additional work that's completed. They just did a circle back to the staff to kind of share data and information. And then they will continue to work with the school leaders and district leaders to kind of build a comprehensive and support plan at the middle school. Additionally, one of the key things that I wanted to do before rolling out the climate surveys is the formation of an equity group to kind of provide feedback. There's a lot of work that needs to be done across various areas in the district, not just in one subset, but there's various subsets that come to our attention. There are various systemic issues, and there are various populations that we have not been adequately and fairly addressing. And that not only comes in our representation, but in just our ability to be competent across various groups, marginalized and unmarginalized. And so that work kind of began. And so this is where we are at right now. I'm hoping that the school committee had the time to review the attachments. And I turn it back over for questions.
Sarah?
Yeah, I have two. This is the perfect opportunity to collect information from students, in particular, about whether they feel safe or when they don't feel safe or who's not making them feel safe, if their pronouns are respected, if when they complain about or report a concern, is it being addressed? I also wonder, and this isn't directly part of the survey maybe, but if whether the students are trained on BRIM or whether they feel that's an appropriate way to lodge a complaint or register a concern about a staff member. So I hope beyond just the middle school project, but the whole effort will take particular care to gather information on that subject. And second of all, I recall that the survey about respondents' feelings about the climate happens very early in the year, like August or September. And I would think that students and staff are still settling in, and whatever their feelings are, that's what they are, but that it would be good to come back to them maybe 4 months into the school year to see how is it going now that you've adjusted to your new teachers, your new classmates, hopefully you've found your people. How are you feeling about the community and the climate at that point? I think it would be informative to see how that is changing over time. To get it early in the year may not be indicative of feelings later in the year. Thanks.
Thank
Tim?
you for that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Why don't I'll listen, we'll hear a few people and then we can go to you if you want to respond. Tim?
Thank you, Dr. Z. I like the participatory action research angle, and I saw that it was defined, called for in the policy, so that's a good implementation step. I am a big fan of participatory action research and the empowerment of subjects of research as becoming researchers themselves. That's kind of how I think of it. I think that's a good idea. I will say that it's good that there's going to be research and data collection. I never want to say no to more research and data collection because conditions in a complex environment change rapidly, so we have to keep measuring. I don't want, because this is going to be time consuming and resource intensive, I don't want there to be any delay on action while we do more research. What we have been learning recently is that there is a lot of data coming to the principals, complaints from families, complaints from teachers, and it's not clear where those are going. And that has a lot to do with the public comment that we heard tonight, but I'm sure that it branches out into other matters, like what we heard also in public comment tonight, but which I've discussed previously with CPAC about, and I experienced myself personally about what took place on the 6th grade step-up day. We're out of runway now on changing behaviors in the schools, behaviors of staff. We don't know what's happening on the school committee. There's only so much that we can see, and that limit on our visibility is always going to be the case. So I'm definitely not looking for more reporting. It would be nice to know more about what's going on, but I don't want you to spend a bunch of time telling us what's going on before we figure out how to correct the behavior of staff and students, where the behavior of students is like some of the examples we're hearing, such as at tonight's public comment. So research is good. Climate research and participatory action research in particular is good and necessary. But now we're in a crisis, and now we need to see serious action.
So I'm going to go to Laura Jane, and then I'll go to Dr. Z, and then Bridget. Laura Jane?
Thank you. Dr. Z, I didn't know, did you get to hear, this is just a yes or no, you don't have to go into detail, but did you get to hear the public comment? Because I couldn't tell who was online or not. Is that a
Yes.
thumbs up, thumbs down? I couldn't tell if you were available to hear it or not.
She said yes.
Oh, okay. So can you tell me a little bit about how you selected the organization to do the climate survey? Because I'm just very curious about that process, and yeah, I guess that's really what I want to know. It's just like, generally speaking, like what was how did you decide who would do it? Is it an outside
is it connected to the district? Like, I don't really know very much about it, so that's my question.
Would you like me to elaborate, or would you like me to keep short?
I mean, I'm done with my question. I just would love to, yes, you can keep it short, sure.
It's an established vendor with the district. It's not someone who works in the district.
So
Can you
we
speak
can't
up?
really
We can't hear you, sorry.
Yeah.
It is an established. I don't want to be accused of being loud, so I'm trying to speak in a moderate tone. It is an established vendor with the district. It is not someone that works in the district.
So how did you decide, I guess is what I'm trying to find out, is like, what was the process for hiring and choosing that particular folks?
This is the individual that administers our surveys. So this is an established vendor who works with the district to administer their surveys. This is what they do.
Do you have anything else, Dr. Z, to respond to the first three people who made comments?
I only have two. I have Sarah Marshall and I have
Sarah Marshall spoke, Tim spoke, and then Laura Jane.
Okay, I just answered Laura Jane's. Sarah Marshall, that's a great idea. I think part of the situation when you look at the timeline is when the information is to be delivered to the school committee, but I do think that's a great idea to circle back to see if there's a change in data. We can add that. That's not an issue. Tim, I think that that things are done, but we also have to take into account what can and can't be public knowledge and can and can't be shared. So I hear you about action being taken. I feel like there's appropriate action to be taken and there's different actions, but one of the things that we have to be mindful of is what's known as a personnel record. That's my response to the first three.
Thank you. Bridget?
Well, first, I want to say I appreciate the approach. This is the policy that you pulled is a School Equity Advisory Committee policy, that they were advocates for bringing the PAR approach into the schools and really having this sort of regular climate survey. So I'm glad to see that it's not just in policy, but it's coming into practice. And I'm particularly glad to see the focus on the middle school at the 4. When I was on the Title IX committee and we were making recommendations for next steps, I spoke with Barbara Love about doing like a broader healing and healing and rebuilding at the middle school after everything that had happened. And she recommended me to the Joy and Justice team when we talked about that possibility. So I think it's a good path. So I have one thing, which is I'm going to sort of +1 the comments of Tim, which is to say that I think we have to be flying the plane while we're, however that expression goes, you know what I mean, right? Build it while we're flying it, because these kids can't wait another day. We can't have situations like what we heard, and I heard 2 examples of sexual harassment, and I remember from last year's Spiffy survey that was a big issue then for feeling safe at the time in that survey. So I'm wondering, how will this work intersect with the work of Spiffy? And then how are we going to be making changes that come into place before June 2027?
Thank you. Next is Deb, and then I have Anna, and then we'll go back to Dr. Z.
Can I take a minute? Can you?
Sure. Anna?
So I'm going to +1 everything Bridget said. And I will say this feels like it's 2 years too late, and I really wish this had been done 2 years ago. I think that we already know a lot of the information that we need to know, and we just need to double down on implementation and accountability right now. And there seems to be a huge problem with communication. There seems to be a huge problem with accountability. And I would also like to see a review of discipline, because I still feel like suspension is being overused. and inappropriately used.
Anna, Deb, sorry, you ready?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Z. I once in an Amherst school committee, no, it was this meeting, where I said that I was done waiting when we were talking about the air quality in the middle school, and you jumped right on it. So I'd like to see a Dr. Z that did that, because we're done waiting, and this is a year, and we have our focus groups, we have information. This study takes a year to get to next steps, and we don't have a year anymore. So in terms of the things that we've done in parallel, because in other contexts, the committee felt like it waited as long as it could wait, I would strongly urge you to bring forward some action steps, not individual personnel, but this is not an individual personnel issue. This is a climate issue, as I think you've identified. And let us know what is being done in the fall and not wait till the following fall. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Z?
I have no comment.
Okay. Thank you for everyone for commenting. I +1 what Tim said and Bridget said and Sarah said and Anna and Deb. I would want to say that I had a lot of notes here, so bear with me. What protections will be in place to ensure students can participate honestly without fear of retaliation or identification? And as Deb said just now, what immediate actions are being taken right now while this year-long assessment process is underway to support students currently experiencing bullying, harassment, discrimination, or exclusion? Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay. Dr. Z, do you have anything else to say about this topic?
No.
So next on our agenda, we receive and discuss the audit review. And Sarah, is this
Yes, I'll
you?
take
Okay.
the lead. I just wonder if Shannon's out there in case we need it.
Which document do you want
Oh.
to be pulled up?
Just my report, which is just excerpts from the minutes. So the Budget and Audit Subcommittee, which is Sarah Bess, Tim,
Can you pull up June?
and myself. It's the June 20, it's just two
Oh, perfect.
paragraphs.
Okay.
Yeah. So back in May, we met with Shannon, and one of the items on the agenda was to review and discuss if we had any questions about the audit. I should say that all the districts must be audited every year. Of course, we're only talking tonight about the regional audit. And so the three documents that first kick off that process, it consists of basically an engagement letter where the auditor describes what the scope of work is going to be. And then two documents, one is lengthy, it's the audited financial statements. We're not going to go through them. They're there for you or any member of the public to look at. The audited financial statements, and then I don't really know I guess it's a compliance audit. Because we have federal grants, Shannon will correct me if I'm wrong, but every year at least one of them gets a look over by the auditor to make sure we are appropriately accounting for things. And so these two paragraphs taken from our minutes just summarize that basically everything is in order, but there was one, and I want to get the terminology right, a significant weakness in how some of the accounting for one of the federal grants was being done. And as Shannon described it to us, the errors happened as a consequence of changing the whole system at the advice or maybe request or order of DESI to do it a new way. And basically, it doesn't work well for regions, so the way the district is addressing that going forward is to just not do that anymore and go back to managing the grants and accounting and billing and all that the way we were. But the business office has made all the necessary bookkeeping corrections to make it all good. All right, so that was the only thing of note in the entire audit, and it's been addressed. I will add that Shannon said that the office would very much, well, intends to hire a grant manager, somebody to specifically focus on the grants, because we have a great many grants and there's a lot of requirements, legal obligations about accounting for them. And that person's time can be paid for by the grants. So if they're successful in hiring somebody for next year, it won't impact our operating budget. So I'll ask Shannon to correct anything I said wrong or add anything she would like to, and then if there are any questions or comments from the other subcommittee members or anyone else, this is the chance.
Shannon, do you have anything to add?
I think overall you did a good job, Sarah. The only correction is, so we have a financial statement audit, an end of year report audit, and then as part of the end of year report audit, they do they select one of our federal grants of. If we have federal grants over 750,000, then we have to do an audit for that, for federal grants every year. And those audits that I just mentioned happened every 3 years, and then, every year. And then we have a external student activities fund audit that happens every 3 years.
But that one has not been completed yet, so we have, right?
Correct.
We haven't seen it yet, so we'll be very interested to see that. So. Any questions from the committee? Deb?
Deb?
Is this the full report provided by the auditors? I ask because it's happened in previous situations that there was a part that we didn't see.
Well, that's my belief, and I think Shannon will corroborate
Yep.
that.
Yeah, so it might look different from in the past. We previously had, it was like, I can't remember the name of it, but then it switched to Markham, and then CBiz brought out Markham, so they look a little bit different from previous years because it's a new, overall, I don't know what you call it, company that's changed. But yes, these are the final documents and them in full.
Great. And then when is the end of the year report going? When do you expect to have that completed?
So they are due September 30th. I think I was about a week and a half early last year. And so I planned hopefully that same time frame. So September 30th is the last date though.
Great. And when you have it, may we have it?
It's we discussed this in the committee. Let me test my memory. It's not a thing that we can give you because it's a big, enormous spreadsheet on DESI's website somewhere, but.
Well, yeah. So I believe last year or this past year, I've shared the end year report, and I send it out. It's very lengthy, and it's hard to interpret. So if when you do see it and you have questions, it will be difficult to answer them on the spot. But if you have questions written down, it would be a little bit easier to respond in that way, just because of how large it is and tracking things backwards. And the chair of the school committee has to receive a copy of it and sign off on a certification once it's completed. So that is always given to the chair.
Right. And I think the subcommittee, I know that we discussed an opportunity to review that in the subcommittee in November, and I think it's now on the calendar, the school committee calendar. So we can give everyone a heads up if you want to come to that meeting and ask the questions you can.
Deb, do you have more questions?
No, I agree. You've given it to me in past years, and it's very hard to interpret, but it's nice to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Deb. Tim?
So I just want to make sure I understand the process. The chair of each, or the chair of the committee certifies it? And what's the budget and audit subcommittee's role? And does the, go ahead.
It's required by DESE that the chair of the school committee says that they are, they believe that this information to be true and accurate. And the superintendent signs, and myself as well. And it's a one-page document. And then for other towns, the towns sign when it's not a regional school district. But it's not so it's a requirement by DESE that the chair has to sign.
And a follow-up question, in your experience, does DESE ever kick it back and say, these look wrong, we need a double check?
So it's a really intricate workbook, and there is a sheet that does, I can't remember the name of the tab, but it does, it's like edits, and every possible thing that may not line up will show up as like a red flag, and it forces you to go back and look. And so that happens every year. It's like, oh, did I miss entering something here? Or why? It's all these different cross checks that are in formulas that it does. And then you have to respond to them or fix them. So if all of those are green, then that's when I know that I've completely completed this report and all of the calculations match up for all their cross checkings, and then I send it. I have not personally received any kickbacks after the process once it's all filled out.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have any questions for Sarah? Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is discuss and possible vote to transfer funds to the Regional Transportation Reimbursement Fund. So Shannon, I believe that's you again?
Yep, so this is something we talked about in the past. As you know, when we create our budget and you see that page with the blue column with our revenue on it, our transportation reimbursement is something that's always an estimated amount. And what I would like to do is to get to a point where we know the actual amount every year, because we make an estimate and then we end up getting a little bit more that could have helped our budget. Had we known the full amount and been able to treat it like we do circuit breaker, where we spend the money, meaning we're paying our vendors, we receive the money the next fiscal year, and then we spend it the following, we'll be able to get to a point where we can budget the exact amount. And that might be an additional 100,000 or so to our operating budget, because we have to be conservative with our estimates with how the governor's budget rolls out and what they anticipate for a reimbursement back. So what I would like to do is to transfer the second payment of our reimbursement. It comes in two payments. We've already received the first. I want to transfer the second and into the Transportation Reimbursement Fund that'll be spent out of next year's in FY27. And then when we get to FY27, I would propose the same thing again and a little bit higher up until we can transfer the full amount. It'll take a couple years to get here, but up until we can transfer the full amount into this revolving fund, and then we'll be set up to know the exact amount to budget. So that's kind of the basic overview.
Thank you. Anna?
I move that the school committee approve the transfer of up to the full amount of the second fiscal year 2026 state regional transportation reimbursement payment, currently estimated at approximately $552,074 to the district's regional transportation reimbursement fund.
Second.
Go.
Deb. Sarah?
Yeah. What I don't understand is, Shannon, is if we don't put the money into this fund, where would it go? Would it be an E&D? Where?
Yeah, so anything over what we budgeted would move into our E&D. So right now,
So it can't come back to the 25-26 budget because that's closed out, yes? Or it would just end up being excess?
Right, and
Okay.
it would be in excess. It couldn't go back to the 26 budget at this point because I don't know the full total of what it'll be for the second payment. So I know it'll be either $552,000 or more. And normally we get the payment. I want to say the first week in July, and we book it to FY26. But where was I? What was I saying with this? I just completely lost my train of thought. But
That's okay.
if we wanted, I know where I was going. If we wanted to increase the budget to the exact amount for FY26, it's way too late to do that.
Thank you.
So any other questions on the motion on the floor? Deb?
My understanding when you brought it forward, my memory of my understanding at the time when you brought it forward is that this is a way of taking some of the transportation pressure off of the operating budget in any particular year by kind of carrying over a little bit at a time until we have a nice buffer that we then can use instead of underestimating the reimbursement and having that to have to come out of the assessment essentially. Is that correct? Sort of?
Yes, but yes. So what we put in this account has to be spent next year. So we would charge the expenses of transportation directly into this account for whatever the exact amount ends up being. Then in FY27, we would vote to do this again for at minimum this amount or higher, which then takes that out of our revenue, and anything excess wouldn't go into E&D. And then we keep doing that cycle over and over again until we get the full amount, until we're able to do the full amount for one fiscal year.
So it's like creating a Christmas fund, like you just keep saving up, but it's in subsequent use. It's not every year.
Saving up,
Yeah.
saving, spending,
Yeah.
within the same year, but keep adding to it every time.
I remember at the time, it's very clever, and thank you for doing that.
So everyone in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed? So it passes unanimously. Thank you, Shannon. And the next agenda item is, again, Shannon, discuss the MSBA project funding.
Yes, so the base bids came in less than what the anticipated budget is. It's approximately 1.8 million or so. And so the MSBA will be coming to us with a project funding amendment. And MSBA will want to reclaim their savings for how much they would have reimbursed us if we had spent that full amount for the project. So they will do that regardless. So then the question.
Oh.
You're frozen.
You froze.
I think it's us because Dr. Z's frozen too.
Yeah. Hold on, we're going to try to unfreeze y'all because I think it's our side.
Dr. Z, can you hear me?
Oh,
hi.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you were frozen halfway through your comment. Both of y'all froze.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying is we can either, when MSBA reclaims their funds back, we can sign the project amendment, and it essentially, we wouldn't have that 1.8 million anymore, or we could ask each of the towns, and they said, MSBA said we would need a legal letter from each of the members' town to approve that we can hold on to the 1.8 million until the project is finalized, in case we need those funds for an additional contingency to what's already in the contingency bucket. The project, as you know, has already started, if you've seen the parking lot, and we anticipate it being, done by the end of August. But we don't anticipate having the project funding agreement until around the end of August time, because the work is moving faster than MSBA can process the paperwork. So it kind of seems like a moot point, because at that point we would know, like, did we need the contingency? Do we not? But just to be on the safe side, if that's something we want to do, I want to have the time to be able to do it. I do think it's smart. But if it's something you all don't wish me to pursue, then we'll move forward when that agreement comes.
Sarah Bess?
I think this is a great idea. I think we should ask our member towns to authorize the administration to pursue ARP's share of the bid savings. Do you need a motion from it? It's at the very end.
Keep going. Page 2.
Oh, I didn't think I wrote a motion.
No.
But
I was just going to say, we spoke earlier and she just wanted direction, I think. She just wanted our direction. It wasn't a motion. Is that correct, Shannon?
yeah, I just didn't want to. I wanted to make sure everybody knew and was on board before I pursued it, because I would have went to each town. Is my, I mean, I don't want to, but I think it's the wisest thing to do. And I don't know if the towns need to actually vote on it, but I will pursue them and find out, and then there'll be enough time, hopefully between now and August, to have it in place if that happens.
Thank you. So when Shannon and I spoke about this, I was not comfortable as a chair for like 30 minutes to make a decision. And so Shannon and I agreed that it would be best if we brought it for the whole committee, but she just needs a direction of, yes, we want her to ask the towns to do this, or no, we don't. So Sarah, and then I have Deb, and then Tim.
Yeah. So I asked Shannon by email what we would do if either we didn't ask her to proceed this way, or we do, but the town says, yeah, we don't want to do that, and we didn't have enough contingency. If something else came up and we didn't have enough, because, yeah, maybe that would influence what the towns or we decided to do. So Shannon, can you just repeat for everybody what we would do if we don't have this 1.8, but we exhausted the contingency? Oh, now you're muted or something.
That was me, sorry.
Okay.
We wouldn't be able to access the funds, so we would have to find an alternative source. And the first thing on the top of my head is the Capital Stabilization Fund in the event of an emergency. I will say that if we don't turn back the funds and all of the towns agree to it, if we don't end up using it, they'll still get back the savings. It's more of just holding just to be sure out of caution.
So next was Deb.
It got lost in the end of a too long meeting, but I have brought forward a memo to ask you to contact the OPM about including sun tubes in the roof project. Are we able to pursue that at this point, or has the ship sailed on being able to integrate those into the roof project because we have extra money?
The design work was done months ago, and they already they had to order supplies well in advance because of the lead time for the project. So I don't believe we would have the capacity to go and change it at this time.
I agree. Thank you.
Tim?
Do we know who in each town has the authority to decide how to respond to a letter you would send them about this?
No, but I was going to go to each representative that I have contacts at the town and start asking questions and find out who. So that'll be my task to take on and reach out to the appropriate person.
Okay, I wonder if this would require a town meeting vote in the hill towns and what that would mean for our decision and for what you need to do, because that won't happen.
Right. Well, they didn't say it needed to be a vote. They said they needed a letter from the attorney, each town's attorney.
So
So I don't know the answer, but
right,
that's what I want.
I understand, yeah, no, well, so, let's just say we find out that a town meeting is required, which, means that we won't get those attorney letters, because the attorney can't just send a letter, they need someone to decide that the letter is to be sent. What happens then?
So in the event that we don't get the approval, we would sign the project funding amendment along with MSBA, turn back the savings, and if we needed an additional contingency on top of what we have, then we would have to find an alternative funding source.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a direction that we do want her to contact the towns? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
So we do want you to do the next steps. And thank you, Shannon, for doing all this work and contacting all the towns. And I really appreciate all the Q&As you attached to your document. Thank you for doing all of that. So the next thing on the agenda is FY27 fees and votes. And as it's to do with money again, I would imagine this is another Shannon.
Yes. So Victoria Dawson is also here, our athletic director, to help answer some questions that might come up. So at the last meeting, it seemed like we wanted more information of athletics. So I met with the Budget and Audit Subcommittee and brought forth the costs per sport, the cost per participant based on the total cost of the sport divided by the total enrollment in the sport, to try to help figure out how do these fee schedules relate to what the program actually costs. So that's outlined in this memo. It seemed that there was wanting to do the fee schedule differently, and I'm happy to do that. I do think that that's something that we should start with the Budget and Audit Subcommittee in the fall, not wait till now, but we start the conversation in the fall and we'll really work through the redevelopment of this. And for FY27, because we need those sooner, that we would vote the small increase of the 2% overall for each of the athletics. So that we have that in place and then restructure with this information for FY28. So that's what's presented in front of you in terms of athletics. And then around the college applications, we kept those amounts the same for current students, but then added a new column for alumni, which for students that have already graduated, it would be a different rate.
So, Laura Jane, you had your hand up?
Yes. Okay, this is really great. Thank you so much for the detail. I really, really appreciate it. I'm not going to admit this out loud, but my math, I have to use my calculator usually. So I'm looking at these numbers. I need to probably do some calculations because I can't do it in my head. But I guess I'm just curious about, like, you said the total cost of the sport, which I assume includes things like transportation, whatever materials are needed, like balls or whatever, and the coaching stipends and things like that, divided by the number of students gives you the cost of the fee. Is that correct?
No.
No, that's not correct.
Cost per participant.
So if you go on to, it's page 5 of the PDF document, it says cost per sport breakdown. It has each sport and then each category. So coaching stipends, transportation, ice time rental supplies, etc. And so if across in the row, you'll see the total cost at the last column for each sport. Added up, and then you take, so for cross country boys, 22,586,000, and then if you go up to one of the above graphs and see the number of enrollment of students within that sport, so just say 22,586 divided by 50 equals the participant amount. and which would be the estimated amount if it was going to be fully funded by fees, what everyone would have to pay to meet that. I will say, as the cost per sport, the coaching stipends and the transportation are actual numbers. The supplies, we took the total amount and divided it amongst the sports, because when purchasing happens for, like you said, for basketball, softballs, volleyballs, whatever it might be, a lot of them are all on the same purchase orders, so it gets really in the weeds that way. If to go through every single order, yeah. So it was just spread across. And there was a few other things spread like that: the memberships and certifications, and then athletic director, clerical, and athletic trainer was also spread across evenly for each sport.
So can I just follow? Is it okay if I follow
Yeah.
up to just
ask
that?
him.
Sorry. So my follow-up question. Thank you. My follow-up question is, why is there such a difference in the fees if the cost of the sports are so similar and the number of participants is like if you look at football, the fee is $303 per participant for a full fee, right? But it costs more than another sport, any given sport, cross country, who has a comparable number of students. So, and it's only $50 more. What's the? How do they decide, or how does someone decide the difference?
William, sorry, can you put me on the list? We discussed this in this.
You did.
Yeah.
Oh, so I would say I don't know. I don't know how these fee structures were originally set up. And I'm not sure that Victoria knows either. I think they predate our time. So that's why I think for FY28, we can use this information to develop something that makes sense.
Sarah?
Yeah, we had this information is really interesting, and it generates a whole lot of questions. So the subcommittee has a lot of thoughts about what could be done. But so all we need to decide now is whether the very small increase of 2% is reasonable. And in support of that, I would say that none of the sports is self-sustaining. And if you go to the very end of the memo, you'll see how much of the department and, whole program activities in the operating budget as opposed to the revolving fund. So I think it's completely reasonable to just raise a little bit every year. But secondly, I will say, while there are many, we could redesign the fees in a variety of ways. I think the subcommittee would like at some point to have guidance from the full committee about, like, what would you want to be the goals? Like, how much of the program do you think should be paid for by students and their families as opposed to just the operating budget, things like that. So we may have another discussion, not tonight, about what we might do now that we have all this data. But I think it's clear that the fees cover only a fraction of the total program cost.
Could I add to that?
Sure.
William?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I'm glad you asked, and earlier Shannon suggested that we start this process in the fall for FY28 instead of in May. We discussed that at the subcommittee meeting as well, because we're all like, we have so many questions, but no time with which to properly explore them. So that's why we're going to start this in the fall next year.
Thank you, Tim. Deb?
Yeah, I love the data, love the idea of starting early. I would say that when my darling lacrosse player hits me and everybody else up on her list for a lot of money, and they have a lot of money, I would like to consider what that money goes to, because I think it's at the discretion of the teams. And if we're looking at raising fees to offset some of these costs, I think it's a reasonable thing to find out what that fundraising is intended for. So, because some years they actually get a lot of money per team. So that's one of my questions. The second question would be, the athletic trainer has gone onto and off of revolving funds. So it's not clear to me that the district has had clarity on whether or not the fees should offset that particular cost. And then I would say the same thing for the AD and the clerical staff. I think that whole $206,000 is a cost, but so is using the facilities. So I don't know if that makes sense to include that in this calculation per team. And then my question is, can you help me understand where the public comment about the performing arts piece fits into this? Because I'm not understanding that.
That's executive session and not part of this discussion.
Okay, so yeah, great, thank you.
I will just say the first piece that you mentioned, Step, that is student activities. So that money raised by each team is student activities. It's not something that goes into the operating budget nor the revolving budget. It's a completely separate thing. Victoria might be able to speak to how some of those are spent in terms of student activities related to athletics, but it's completely separate. Just wanted to note that.
The funds that Deb is actually speaking to, though, is it's with the boosters. So that's with the hurricane boosters. So that's not even with student activities.
So when the lacrosse team, for instance, texts me and my cousins and all that money is booster money?
Yes.
Oh. I don't think anybody really makes that clear when they send out those requests.
It's
Would you like to speak? Sarah?
Yeah, well, following up, I mean, maybe things have changed since my daughter left, but they would sell popcorn and they'd sell chocolates and coffee and stuff. And that money went into their activity account. Has the practice changed? The boosters didn't have anything to do. I mean, I'm the one who collected all the money and turned it in, so. Or maybe we don't need to talk about that this now.
The student activities funds, student activities funds and athletic funds are two completely separate funds based on MGL and our regulations. So some of the past practices cannot be applied in current practice. I think we recently either finished or are finishing our student activities audit and walking through what some of those procedures need to be. I know between Naibi, Shannon, Jill, and Georgia, they have been working to streamline those things and things that have come up throughout, like questions in the audit findings. So that may have been past practice, but that can no longer be current practice.
Thank you. So I have Sarah Bess and then Anna and then Laura Jane.
So I can speak a little bit to the boosters fundraising because my husband volunteers with them. So that is money that is used just to support the team. So, and it's at the team's discretion. Sometimes they've bought uniforms, they have bought equipment that students can use to record their games and practices that they can then submit to colleges to get scholarships or to be recruited to play for colleges. There are several girls from the girls lacrosse team that are graduating that are going on to play colleges to play in college. So, and all of that those funds are used to support those athletes at that time. So they use it for their banquets and whatever else that is approved by the coaches that supports the whole team.
Thank you.
So my follow-up question. But we paid for the banquet. I mean, we paid per person. It was.
Maybe we'll get the.
So I guess
your
what I'm saying is I understand they're separate, but I think the communication is important because I don't think people understand that they're really not contributing to offset these costs, and I think we should know that, or we should use it somehow to offset the costs.
Thank you, Deb. Anna?
So thanks for all of the additional information. I do agree that it's probably too short to try to adjust the fee schedule this year, although I wish we could, because it's really not aligned in kind of large, discrepant ways. And there are some sports that are being very unfairly penalized by having the highest level of fees when they actually have sort of a moderate level of expenses. And I know it's only like $100 or whatever, but it kind of makes a difference. Especially, I was kind of shocked that alpine skiing is really not that expensive, and it has the highest level of fees, and they already pay for lift tickets, they pay for their own equipment, they pay for so much already, in addition to the highest level of fees, when the actual cost of running the program is actually not that much money. And I don't know if there is a way of doing some minor adjustments to the fee schedule for this year before we wholly rework it for next year. I get it if it's just not feasible for this year, but it was sort of shocking and surprising that there's almost no alignment with the cost with the fees. It's really not.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times that comments are made and there's not clarity. What would that look like for you? What you're asking for, what does that look like for you? Could you expand on that so that the team is clear on what you're asking?
So there's a couple of sports that are fairly largely misaligned with fees, and maybe we could, find those very egregious ones and move them to a different category for this year. And then for next year, totally rework the system to make it much more aligned with the actual cost of the sport. The tricky part here is that boys tennis is not inherently more expensive than girls tennis. It just happens to be because there's fewer boys participating. And if we could get the boys' participation rate up, it would be a lot cheaper. Same with like girls basketball versus boys basketball, and I don't know why they have such a huge increased coaching cost for 11 girls. Maybe we have too many coaches. Maybe we have an overpaid coach. I don't really know. But there's just like some costs that are very out of alignment, and some of them make sense because the sport's just more expensive, and some of them don't make sense, and it's largely due to low participation rates. And I think at a certain point we do need to review when to cut a sport because of low participation. And I know that's very unpopular, and maybe what we need to do instead is to just increase recruitment and try to get more participation. But so for this year, I would say maybe select 2, 3, or 4 sports that seem to be in the wrong category and put them in the right category. And for next year, revamp the system to make them 100% more understandably in the right category.
No, I would ask that the school committee then provide, so that the administration is not randomly guessing what sports that are being referenced. I would ask that the school committee provide those sports that you would like us to, or you have identified as misaligned and you would like us to align.
So I have Laura Jane, and then I have Bridget, then I have Tim, and then I have Sarah.
So I'm going to +1 to what Anna said. I'm looking at the alpine skiing and the ice hockey especially. It's like a anti-snow system here. But it's true, like alpine skiing, Anna and I have talked about this offline, not breaking open meeting law, but just talking about skiing, that the students who are in alpine skiing, the boosters don't get involved at all. There's no booster action. I didn't even know what boosters were. They don't talk to the people who go in the snow, apparently. And then the skiers still have to pay for their lift tickets and of course their equipment, although hopefully once you buy it, you don't have to keep buying it over and over again. But until they grow, which they need to stop doing at some point, to save us money. So, I mean, to Dr. Z's question, it looks like to me like alpine skiing and hockey are the most egregiously overpriced or highest priced comparatively. So, yeah, okay, I don't know what you're saying, Anna, but, okay. But those two should be brought down probably to the 300 line item like everyone else's, kind of, because it just seems so bizarrely extra, especially when it's not that expensive. And then I'm very interested and appreciative that you're planning ahead, budget subcommittee folks, to think about this for the following year. And I want to acknowledge how much I know the sports folks, Ms. Dawson and Georgia, have worked to make sure that people pay their fees. Like, that was an awesome, brilliant move on your part. So thank you for doing that.
Next, I have Bridget.
I was just going to support what these folks were saying, but it seems to me like you could sort the spreadsheet by cost per person and look at the top 5 and the bottom 5, because there's also some that are very expensive, but the fees are very low, and just find a balance. So like charge more for football. It looks like football is very low for the amount it costs. Charge less for skiing and like that, but just sort your spreadsheet and do it like that so that the bottom and top categories even out a little and there's more balance overall, because it doesn't feel very equitable. And I did also have a alpine skier, and it would be over $2,000 each season with the cost of everything, and they do grow. You can't stop that.
Tim?
Yes, I highly support what Anna is suggesting, and I think it could be done fairly easily the way Bridget describes. And we weren't given a spreadsheet in the subcommittee meeting or in this meeting that we could sort ourselves. We were given a PDF of a spreadsheet that we cannot sort. And I also tried to bring this up in the subcommittee meeting and received considerable pushback for even asking. So it would be great to just get some collaboration on this.
May I ask that Victoria chime in terms of timeframes of when we need these? Like, I assume that we need them sooner rather than later for a vote, and I'm not sure that there's another regional school committee meeting happening soon. I could be wrong, unless there is going to be one in July.
We have one next week on Tuesday. Sorry.
Is that a joint meeting?
It's a joint meeting, but the region will be there.
It would be nice to have it tonight, because a lot right now in my inbox, in my email is, when is registration going to be open? It normally opens on before June 1st. So, I mean, people are getting ready to sign up and register. They want to register before school ends, but obviously school's already over. So I just keep saying the same response. But if we could come with the vote today, that'd be great. But if not, I'll just keep responding with the same response.
Thank you. So I have Sarah and then Sarah Bess.
So we are asked to approve the fees. I don't know that we're asked to approve which sports are put in which fee group. So maybe the solution is we approve the fees as recommended and leave it to the department to sort the sports into rational, more rationally. So is that something a way we can handle this, and then we could have the vote tonight? But there would need to be maybe some communication to families if there are dramatic. No one's opposed to a decrease in a fee, but if something then dramatically moves from the lowest to the highest group, that might take some explanation. But can we just vote the fee increase and let the department do the sorting?
So next I have Sarah Bess.
We did have this conversation at the budget subcommittee meeting. I think if the committee is going to suggest an overhaul of the sports allocation, that we approve the fees as presented tonight and then take the time to be thoughtful about how we're allocating which sports in which category, if that's something that the school committee is responsible for. I think that it is better to take an extra year to do it thoughtfully and to do it well, and to have our families be able to sign up for their fall sports as soon as possible. So I would be in favor of voting the fees as with the increases as presented tonight, and then taking next year to do a good job at looking at the information that we think we need in order to make smart, thoughtful decisions.
Thank you. Deb?
I'd like to call a question.
William, I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. So call to question.
There's no motion.
That is
We
true.
haven't even heard the question, yeah.
Yeah, there's no motion, sorry.
I move.
Hold on. Dr. Z.
I think that there's a couple of things that's being discussed here, and I had already committed to not saying much, but I want to say, as a person who's an advocate for all children, and all children come to school for different reasons, due to our current budgetary situation, we don't subsidize sports in the way that we need to. In a lot of this effort, this past year or 2 years, Georgia and Victoria have really stepped up to collect fees, have pushed to make sure that sports are paid for. And I see where there's a discrepancy in terms of, you know, the categories that they fall in and what's happening. But I also note that even as a regional committee, there's not even standalone middle school sports, right? And so we have to think about the gaps that we're going to further create for children who come to school for more. And I understand that the fees may seem exorbitant based on where they are, but that goes based on the length of season, that goes based on the number of players, that goes based on the equipment that's needed. That some of these sports year over year need something different. Year over year cause a issue. And I understand that perhaps we need to do better in our aligning of costs according to the school committee. I also feel like there needs to be a commitment and understanding that if there is a drive, and I think Sarah Marshall just said it, where it's like, we don't know if that's the school committee's purview or the administration's purview, but if we're truly collaborative, we need to come to an agreement together of what are we going to support, what are we going to push forward, and how do we want the process to look. And if we are too late in the process, adjusting our timeline so that we're adequately serving our children. So that's my ask, would be that we find a path forward with, which includes meeting everything else that is of a concern, and finding a way to make sure that we are offering things for children who come to school for pathways other than just academics. Because there are children who come to school and they thrive, they don't thrive as academically as they do through sports.
Thank you. So I have Tim and Sarah Bass, but I'm going to also make a comment. Currently, the audit, I'm asking a question. The audit subcommittee is who is overseeing the fees?
Yes.
Okay. I would propose or think about, do we need to set up another subcommittee or a task force to include staff and school committee members and possibly sports families to work through what this could look like and then bring a recommendation back to us? Because I feel like we've had this conversation a few times and we haven't ever really sat down with Victoria, and Victoria probably has a whole lot more information than we have. And I think some of us are sports people, but not all of us are, so I don't know how much we really have. And so I think it might be best if we had I don't know if it would be a task force or an advisory committee, but if we could vote, I would be in favor for voting this fee structure for tonight and then setting up a task force or whatever we would want to call it. I'd have to look at our policies for the fall. So then we can actually then have a recommendation that comes back to us that's more fully flushed than us sitting around this table in public trying to solve the problem. So I have Tim and then Sarah Bess. Tim?
I agree that this needs, closer examination. The budget and audit subcommittee probably is not sufficient. I think what we're dealing with here is, a years old problem of insufficient management, right? And everyone here has kind of inherited that and doing their best to figure that out. It is important that we have this discussion in a public meeting, even if we aren't able to come to like a resolved place with it. It's really important that we grapple with this clumsily in a public meeting. And the issue I think that Anna has identified and that others have supported her in is not, and I don't understand why I have to say this again, because I heard the same thing in the subcommittee meeting. This is not the school committee or school committee members being against sports. I don't understand why I have to keep saying this. This is about some athletes paying fees that subsidize other athletes. It's just that simple. We think there are inequities in these fee structures, and there's not enough information in this very well-produced document that is probably far better than what committees have received in previous years, and for which I'm highly appreciative. But still, there's a problem for us to figure out. It is not that people are anti-sports and trying to extinguish sports. It's that we're trying to publicly figure out and come to an equitable arrangement between all these sports. And it's hard to understand why the 16 golfers pay just a little bit more than the 57 soccer players who have a third of the cost. So that's what we're trying to figure out. And asking about it in public is not opposition to sports.
Sarah Bess?
I move to approve the Amherst Pelham Regional School District fees increases for the 2026-2027 school year as shown on the memo dated June 23rd, 2026.
Second. I think Andrew got it.
Discussion? Anna?
I will send a couple of recommendations for changing fee categories.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
all those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? All those abstain? So it passes 7,
8.
No.
Oh, there's an abstention?
I said no.
There's one no.
But there's 9.
There's 9 of us. I apologize. I'm not mathing today. Sorry. As an old kindergarten teacher, I'm not doing well. I should be able to count to 10. Sorry. Anyway, there is 8 yeses and 1 no. No abstentions. So it passes.
Can I say thank you very much to Victoria and probably Georgia also worked on this, and Shannon. It was really super helpful to have all this data. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah, Shannon's been doing a great job, so I just want to put that out there. She has a lot on her plate.
Thank you. I don't want this to get lost and us come back here again next year, and I feel like we do need to put more eyes on it and come back with a recommendation. Tim?
The chair could add it to the annual calendar.
Yes, I will add that. I will add that to our agenda planning, and I guess I would. I don't know if the chair has the authority to set up a subcommittee on their own.
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or a task force.
I think you need hold on.
Just
Bridget?
You would just bring a recommendation, like a paragraph
Okay.
of the subcommittee, and then ask us if we approve it, and then I think we'll approve it, and then you'll get to a point who you think might be good people because you have the vision for it. That's great.
Okay. And then, okay.
Also,
Tim.
I try to add action items to the end of each set of minutes, and there may have been a former chair with a good system for keeping track of those action items. I don't know, maybe you could ask around.
So I will add that, I guess, to a future agenda and not to today's. Thank you. And, yeah. Britt, well, she's already gone. I was going to ask Victoria if she needed anything else from us.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm not gone.
No,
I didn't
Victoria,
know if I was done.
As you are the one that's in the weeds, do you have a suggestion of how we could tackle this?
Let's collaborate.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You need a committee. The subcommittee will be established through the action of the committee.
Okay. So I will bring something forward then. I will do that. So the next item on our agenda is to discuss the school year. Sorry, I'm like SY. What is SY? SY 26-27 Professional Development Calendar. Dr. Z, are you leading this conversation?
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I attached a memorandum, which is the calendar dates, as well as the school year calendar for next school year. Based on the school year calendar, we have specific educator workshop days, as well as our convocation day, and then we have our all teacher planning and preparation day. We have met as a team to kind of cross-reference all of the directives as well as professional development goals. We are working to kind of fine-tune that right now and work with our vendors to identify how these days will be used, and what trainings will be provided. As of right now, for example, we're identifying a neuroaffirming training for the convocation day. We're working to identify which days will be used for our welcoming schools, and there's some other MTSS and bullying prevention, harassment, and district-wide trainings that we need to put forth. So this is our technical calendar in terms of how we plan to use our days identified for training.
Thank you. Any questions? Sarah?
So the trainings for the policy JKAA, for example, that we just adopted, and other trainings around ACA, I mean, about the, inclusion and restraint and seclusion and all the various policies that we have focused so much on that require training of staff, all that has to be worked into these few days. Is that
correct? As well as whatever training the schools have identified that would fit within the culture of what they have, and what they do. So we don't have a lot of training days. We balance our training days with days for educators to do their planning and preparation for classrooms. And so, yes, all of those trainings that we are mandated have to be fit into really these days.
Okay, so I have Deb and then Tim. No? Okay.
Not that I remember, sorry.
So Tim?
Thank you. Yeah, I understand the calendar doesn't leave a lot of room for training days. And this is not maybe actually relevant to this agenda item, but I guess in general I wonder about, so there's training, right? There's workshops and training sessions with third parties and so forth. But I also wonder about the work of socialization and acculturation and generating discussion and dialogue outside of PD events. And I'm not looking for an answer to that necessarily, or although perhaps you have one, but that is, I think, an important part of reminding everyone of what they have learned together and encouraging staff to discuss what they have learned together, find examples of what they have learned together, and so forth. Otherwise, the concern is, will the training lead to culture shift? It's sort of hard to see how that gap will be bridged.
I do have an answer, Tim. On the second page, at the end of the first paragraph, it talks about professional learning activities that occur in faculty meetings, PLCs, which is professional learning communities, collaborative planning structures. So schools have time where they use like their faculty meetings. That happens a lot more frequently than these days, where they bring staff together for learning, for conversation, for updates. We have teachers who sit and do like cross teams. We have teacher trainers who work together. So there are a lot of built-in school-based structures for them to share, for them to build it into the culture, for all of the things that you're asking for to occur. I think the conflict comes back into the district-wide, but then even if we have the district-wide training, there is still that opportunity for that collaboration and discussion and learning and further sharing of learning or reflection on learning to happen at schools in PLCs, in school faculty meetings.
That's excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a clarifying point, the two other attachments on board
They belong
docs,
under the,
they're
they're
under
in the
school
wrong
climate.
section.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I was trying to figure out how they went with this one. Anyway, I was a little confused. So you need from us to approve the PD calendar, but we don't need to approve, like, or maybe we don't have to approve. I guess I'm asking. And then there's no approval, or you need for us to approve the actual what the PD is.
So my understanding and is that usually the school committee approves a PD plan, but I was asked to present the PD calendar. So I wanted to at least lay out what dates we had identified, and this is a great opportunity to share with the community and broader scope around what days we've already identified for training. We are working on the PD plan, and that would come at the start of the school year once we're further along in kind of crosswalking everything. One of the things that we're looking at for the upcoming year is scaffolding of learning, and determining really what cohorts need to be assigned to which in terms of professional development. For example, this year we've had a welcome in schools training for leaders, and then a welcome in school training for the broader staff. So the same thing kind of has to happen when we think about other trainings that are moving forward. But I am not sure if the PD calendar is to be approved.
Sarah Bess.
So my quick Google foo, according to MASC, says the committee approves the overarching schedule, such as if, because it's part of the school day calendar, but the content and the curriculum of the PD is handled internally by the administration.
So I would move that the school committee approves the PD calendar as presented tonight.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the calendar, raise your hand. All those opposed? All those abstain? Which vote did you do?
I was abstaining.
Oh, you were abstaining. Okay, I'm sorry. I counted you for the other one.
No, I was messing with the mic.
Okay, so we have 8, see if I can do my math now, 8 accepted and 1 abstention, 0 no's. It passes. Thank you, Dr. Z.
I'd like to thank the school committee, not just for this vote, but for the vote of the fees as well. So thank you on behalf of the district.
Thank you. So the next 2 things are school committee things, and so it's not a Shannon or Dr. Z show. So the next item is school committee self-evaluation, and I attached our policy, BAA, that talks about our self-evaluation. And then I also attached a document from MASC that kind of takes you through the evaluation. Now, we did not set goals this last year, so it's kind of hard for us to evaluate ourselves. But I thought if we could briefly look at this, so then we could maybe start setting some goals for ourselves. So that was kind of my idea for tonight, is to kind of look over this and see if we couldn't evaluate ourselves some. So any questions or comments or evaluations you would like to say? Laura Jane?
I heard someone say we're doing great, so we can just go with that. But I think this is a really good idea. I have a couple questions. Is it possible to get feedback from the community, like a 360 sort of situation evaluation, just to offer anonymous feedback about what the community would like to see from the school committee? I assume we're just talking about the region, right? And also, just procedurally, when we go through this process, whatever it ends up being, do we share this with the community?
I think it's my own opinion. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is a process that we own as a school committee, so I think we can decide what the process is. And I would hope that we would, if we're going to do the work, we'd actually share it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why we would keep it. I think it would be a public thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have Tim and then Sarah Bess.
I was just going to say that, the policy says when the committee has completed its self-evaluation, the members will discuss the results in detail and formulate a new series of objectives. And that would have to be public because that's not a reason for executive session. I like the idea of a 360. It's tricky because how do we do a 360 that adequately includes community members from all 4 towns? That's going to be one of those Amherst 99%, Hill Towns 1% type situations, I bet. And not that that's a reason not to do it. It's just not something we can do quickly or just by ourselves, like with our sandwich board, running around different towns and asking questions. So I don't know, if we can afford to wait that long before doing a self-evaluation. And in a way, our job is to be the voice of the people in those communities. Again, not a reason not to do some kind of 360 evaluation, but yeah.
Thank you. Sarah Bess?
So I think the policy calls for a self-evaluation. So it's your own opinion of how we think we're doing. Most of the things that are listed in the policy that talk about self-evaluation are, it's your communication with the public. So there's always opportunity for the public to provide us feedback, however that looks. Committee member development, relationships, policy development, educational leadership, fiscal management, school committee meetings. So there's lots of things that we can look at. I think starting with an evaluation would be great. Then we have a baseline of where we want to make goals from and go for. I think having doing our own evaluation and looking really critically at how we work together and outside, I think is really important. And I think as we're supposed to be the leaders of the school with a big idea people for it, then if we are able to set our own goals, then that makes setting the goals for the superintendent and then driving the direction of the district a much more thought out process.
Thank you. I have Sarah. No, hold on. Yes, Sarah Marshall, and then Anna. And Bridget too. Okay.
Put me at the end of the list, and maybe I'll remember why.
Okay. Anna.
I was basically going to say the same thing that Sarah Bess said, but just that, like all of the evaluations in DESI, it's just about you and about nobody else. And I do think that maybe, especially for this first one, we should focus on ourselves. And then maybe next year we can try to be more inclusive, but DESI really just wants you to think about yourself.
Bridget?
So I really like what Sarah Best said. One thing that I feel a lot and that I hope maybe those open-ended questions about like, is the committee doing the right things? Are the right things being done the right way? Those types of questions can get us to that, because I feel like we spend an awful lot of time saying, yes, move money from here to there. Oh yes, this little sports sphere, this or that. But what about the big high-level impact things that could really implement change in the district? And how are we losing track of what I think we all hold as our top priorities and goals? So like those are the types of things that I really want to be sure we get in there.
Thank you, Bridget. Deb?
MASC has a goal-setting workshop. It's learn how to develop clear, achievable district goals that align with student success.
That's the next agenda item, but right now we're doing evaluation.
Oh. Reflecting on the committee's governance and evaluating its effectiveness is their self-evaluation workshop. Just saying, we already pay for the services.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I appreciate what everybody said. I think I would just make sure to include roadblocks too, like what in your self-eval, when you're thinking about what you want to do, maybe what you haven't done enough of, to think about why you think that is, and just to share it with all of us so that we can all get on the same page about what's keeping us from achieving more or doing more.
So I guess I would, before I get to Tim, I would ask, we have not set goals for ourselves. We haven't done an evaluation for ourselves. Do we want to go through an informal evaluation and then do goals at our next meeting? Or do we want to first tackle goals and then evaluate as the year's going on and then do an actual evaluation at the end of the year next year? Tim?
So there's a self-evaluation form in the mask document, starting on page 4, that, in the paragraph on page 3, gives some instructions for how to proceed. Give each member enough time so they won't feel rushed. It is common for each evaluation to be anonymous. Designate someone to collect the forms and do a composite scoring, and then additional instructions. I think we should just do this as written.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sarah, and then I have Bridget.
So last summer, I think, we had a retreat. So would we have perhaps a retreat after we all do these and share them, or they're public or whatever, and then impart design goals based on what comes out of that discussion? Retreats are public.
Oh, retreats are public?
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand. Yep.
I like that idea. Bridget?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I think a retreat is important. There's a document attached that has some goals. Those are nowhere near what I'm thinking about, because I know I put forward some ideas last time. So I think I would want it to be like sort of a bottom-up collaborative process, so we all get some voice in what those goals are, and that, the self-eval could work into that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that, do we want to then complete this self-evaluation and then say we have 2 weeks to get it done? And then we go from there and do a retreat? Deb?
Page 2, the process for completing a self-evaluation is a 3-step process. 1, planning the evaluation. 2, completing the evaluation. 3, processing the data. Where's 1?
I think that maybe it's what is right now.
That's what we're doing right now, Deb.
So it sounds like 1 is using this document that's pre-planned. So I don't...
Just to give us a jumping point, So then maybe we could then have a retreat to then talk about what our goals could be for next year. And it could be like a growing exercise for us to see maybe what our goals should be.
Can we talk about what the questions are?
Yeah, totally. Deb, you have the floor
The
still.
committee's policies are clear and up to date. The committee has adopted a mission statement. The committee regularly evaluates its process relative to the goals and objectives that have been adopted. The committee refrains from involvement in the administration of the school system. The committee members take part in educational workshops and conferences to help them make informed decisions. Roles of the committee officers are defined in committee policy and understood by all members. New members receive introductory training and orientation when they join the committee. It's just a laundry list. There's like 6, 10, 16, 23. Can't we just refine some? Can't we just pick like 5 that are important to us and talk about them? If I just 30, 41, I think there's like 41 things, and some of them, like the committee's policies are clear up to date. Are they? I don't know. You would know. That's just my opinion. Clear? No. My opinion is they're not clear, and they won't be clear until we have half as many policies. But some of the policies we just adopt, I mean, that's just my opinion. But how many policies do we have? We must have close to 100 policies. So we're supposed to go through and look at, that doesn't make sense to me. I think we should talk about either governance or operations or member relations or pick 1 or 2 from each category. But to blast through all of these because it's pre-cooked for us doesn't make sense to us. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think it's pre-cooked. I think these were examples of how you could do your evaluation. This wasn't I don't think this is a sample evaluation. It's a possible things you could put on your evaluation. We don't have an evaluation. So that's why I came tonight with just this, so we could just start a conversation and then possibly adopt goals or not.
Okay.
But if we feel like I'm feeling like people are feeling that we need to do some kind of self-evaluation to then guide us into our goals for next year. So I don't care what that self-evaluation looks like. This is just something I found online yesterday.
Okay. My experience. Put me at
So I have Sarah Marshall, Bridget, and then Sarah Bess.
Maybe the chair could appoint an ad hoc
Also, Tim.
retreat planning committee that could pick out, if we're going to have a retreat and have something to talk about, we need to, rather than spend half an hour now, because it's 10 o'clock, deciding which of these to focus on, just pick a few people to decide, and pick a date for the retreat.
Bridget?
Can we have a committee to serve the committee, because I'm tired? I think it may be just very easy for us to each write 2 or 3 paragraphs about what's working, what's not working, what would we like to do, what are our roadblocks, and then we just put them through something that analyzes and pulls themes for us. And then we talk about those themes and we set our goals.
So how about the chair and the vice chair? You can email us what Bridget just said, and then we could go from there. And Bridget, could you repeat what you wanted us to do, what the task would be?
I think what's working, what's not working, like Andrew said, any roadblocks, and what you would like to see us focus on or do better next year. And then we'll take those, we'll group them up. We'll say this is what they are. If you want to be extra efficient, put your top 3 goal ideas for next year. And then we can come in and talk about it all in different chunks of the retreat, which I hope will bring lunch. So.
Thank you. So next I
Hope there's
have
lunch.
Sarah Bess.
So I think we actually need to start before we get to those ideas.
that
I
goes-
think
I think
going,
Christina got
I,
you next.
I understand what Deb is saying. These are like a lot of stuff that might not always apply to everything or be super in depth, but the scoring is strongly agree, disagree, and I don't know. So I think we need to start somewhere really, really basic. And I think going through these couple of pages and then seeing where we have strengths and where we have weaknesses and where we have space for growth is going to be a good place, is a good place for us to start what's working and what's not working. And then I think those are great results of having the retreat and how to help define where we're going for next year. I think that's going to be hard to synthesize. And I think using this worksheet is going to be a good place to start.
Anna? Yeah, you're on the list. You know. Sorry, I have
So
Tim and then
I feel like
Anna, Tim and Anna.
the worksheet may be a decent starting point.
Also Laura Jane.
Laura Jane too? Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize to Anna. Go ahead.
The worksheet may be a good starting point. I think it is extremely surface, and it has no insight into what's actually happening in our district and what some of the bigger issues that have been and we are dealing with in our district are. So it's going to be like, is your school committee a good functioning school committee in general? And that's definitely helpful to understand what our weaknesses are in being a school committee in general. But it is not going to get at anything that is personal to our school committee. And maybe we can all start by looking at the form and getting some ideas and then write our summary statement of what we think we're doing well, what we think we're not doing well. And then we can add our own sort of insight as to something that's more Amherst Pelham regional related. So that, if you don't want to fill out every single question, or if you want to just sort of browse it, that's up to you. But it is a good starting point, and then maybe you can write your paragraph after that.
Thank you.
Happy
Tim?
medium?
I think that it would be very easy to do this survey and also write a qualitative response, which I think Bridget has a very good suggestion. We should write some paragraphs, but this survey is low-hanging fruit. And what it will do is it will show us like, oh, these are the things that we seem to care about, or these are the things that we don't care about, or here's some things that most of us don't know much about. Maybe we should think about those. But then also, if we use it year after year, then it will help us gain a sense of progress over time. What I don't want to do is have us try to come up with a better survey instrument, because then we're building our own biases into the survey instrument. And I don't want to have to go hire someone to create another survey instrument that we'll all disagree with in a public meeting. Let's just use the thing that's in front of us and also write the qualitative thing. And when it comes to theming, theming can be done. It could be done in a qualitative text analysis, natural language processing type tool, which is easy to come by. I can help with that. Anna can help with that. Bridget can help with that. I don't know if I'm missing anyone who can help
Not
with
me.
that.
Not
Okay.
me.
But also, that could be a workshop exercise for us at the retreat. Let's sit down, and we have now our 9 one-page write-ups, and let's work in small groups with our Post-it notes and markers, and we'll come up with themes that we identify together. I think that would be a really good exercise for us. But let's do both.
Right. Andrew? And then I have Laura Jane and then Deb.
I just agree with all the things. I wrote down in the spirit of like Hampshire College and narrative evaluations, successes, roadblocks, and reflections for the paragraph. That is just a suggestion for framing. And then I agree with what Tim just said. I think we could probably call like 10 good ones out of the self-eval, but I'm also fine with doing all of them. But I think it'll be useful.
So before I go to Laura Jane and Deb, because we create a lot of work for ourselves and we create a lot of work for administrators. We're really good at that. So to try not
Put
to
that on our list of successes.
So this form is on board docs. Does it need to be, like, can people figure out how to answer that form and get it to us, or do we need it to be in a different format so you can just click things?
Like a Google form?
Right.
I have a printer.
So you can do that and then give it to us?
And a pen.
Okay. So we don't need any more tech to go into this form. We can all fill it out.
This old school.
Old school it?
If
Okay.
anyone needs me to print for them.
Bring it
But
on
you can't
Thursday.
have any of my pens.
Laura Jane?
I'm just curious, for those one person who's been on the school committee longer than anyone else, have there ever been, I know I'm supposed to direct all my questions to the chair, so I'm looking at William. Has there been any self-evaluations done by previous school committees? And so that must be available somewhere in the library, maybe?
Yep, I probably can find something.
I'm not saying that you have to find it, I just wanted to know if it existed.
I think it's happened in a couple of different forms. One year we did, I think twice I scheduled retreats when we talked about like the things that are listed on here, and everyone, we had MESC come and do kind of a roles and responsibilities workshop with us, and then we went through the school committee evaluation, and there were like a bunch of posters and sticky notes that happened. Once before I was chair, there was, I think there was like a Google form that happened. I think there was another evaluation sheet that happened. I might have them still. I think that might be all of my school committee years.
That wasn't to ask you to find that or anything. I just was curious if there did exist previous ones, but okay. And so then I guess the follow-up to that was, you mentioned a timeline. You said 2 weeks. Is that what you said? Did you mean from today?
I was thinking like 2 weeks from today. Like, it could be 3 weeks. I want to make sure we have ample time for this. It doesn't look like it would take that long to do this actual form. It might take a little bit of time to write your paragraphs. But I know people are going on vacation and such. So that's why I thought maybe 2 weeks would give people enough time to actually get the work done. But it would be nice to have a deadline so then we can move on to the next step. So I have Deb, and then I have Bridget, and then we need to wrap this up.
You haven't even used your cards.
I haven't, because I haven't had one person like really take over. So Deb.
So I think it's important to recognize that we're evolving. Sarah Bess often says, we're doing so much better than we did last year. So instead of having categories that are absolute, I do think there's space for the evaluation to be saying improving, not improving, maintaining, instead of just an overall, we're doing great, I don't even know what that means in terms of an absolute scale, but I do feel better able to make those judgments based on previous experiences or even previous committees' experiences. It doesn't have to be us. It can just be how we are compared to what the delta is.
So the wonderful previous chair maybe found a Google form already that has this form that I think, I mean, it may be the same, we'll have to look and see. So if it is, then we can share that with everyone. So I have Bridget.
I don't exactly remember what I was gonna say. At this point, I got caught up in something else. But it seems to me like, oh, I remember, Sarah Beth has been through all these different ones, so then I'm thinking, I've only been through the sticky notes one and the Tracy Novak one, and while they both had learning opportunities, and I'm sure that we've gotten better, like none of them felt transformational. Like, have you experienced anything that was particularly helpful? Okay.
I don't know. So I've participated in the evaluations. I don't know that the evaluations have led to goals. I will also say I started the school committee right before COVID. So, like, there were a lot of things happening.
So we do have a form already. I don't know if it has a paragraph, but we can see if we can't add a paragraph to do your summative. Can we all agree that we can get this done in 2 weeks?
Get the link out.
Okay. So
Can you give
we
me
will,
a date, and then I'll be able to answer?
I will give you a date when I email, 2 weeks from when we email the form out from Bridget and
2 weeks
William.
from today is July 7th.
Oh, July 7th.
I can't.
Let's just push it one more
It could be
week.
like July 13th or 14th.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
Let's push
suggest.
it one more week.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds better. And when you send the form out, could you send, the prompt for the qualitative
Yes, we
response,
will.
which Andrew suggested as successes, roadblocks, and reflections, which I quite like.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. Any more comments or discussion on this before Bridget and I and Sarah Bess's help will get this done? So the last thing on the agenda was school committee goals and objectives. And there is information here. I feel like that we're going to do the evaluation is our next step, and then we can reflect on this. So I don't know if we really need to spend any time reflecting on this tonight as a group, because we'll just be talking for another hour, and we're not going to actually be doing any of these today, because we're going to do them later. So I would move that we move to the next part of our agenda, which is the consent agenda. We do have gifts that we have typically moved out of the consent agenda. Does anyone need to move anything else out of the consent agenda? Tim?
So I just want to say, I put a little note there that says when I uploaded the minutes, but, if it's just too soon, I realize I uploaded, 7, 8 copies of minutes yesterday afternoon. And so if people need more time with those, I totally welcome that.
Thank you for doing all that.
Sarah?
I want to pull the minutes of June 9th so I can make a correction.
Thank you. Anything else that needs to be pulled out? Okay, so I don't think if it's on the, we don't actually have to, do we have to move and motion for the consent agenda?
Yes.
We do? Okay. So I move to accept the consent agenda with the exception of June 9th and the gifts and donations.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstain? So 1 abstention, 8 yeses, and 0 no's, so it passes.
For the minutes, who abstained?
It's just me, I haven't read them.
So June 9th,
Yeah,
what is your edit for June 9th?
Yeah, just for clarity, on page 6, the third bullet from the bottom, about MPAC, MPAC. I don't know, Tim, if you're looking, it's right there.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, okay. Just remove the word impact that's all in, at the end of that line, because that's not correct. It should just read, it was clarified that this is the Multilingual Parent Advisory Council. Just get rid of impact. Because
Yep,
it
thank
isn't
you.
impact.
Any other edits?
No.
So I move to accept the June 9th minutes as edited? Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstain? So, same votes, 1 abstention, 8 for it. Okay, so let's move on to the gifts and donations. Does anyone want to speak on this?
Point of order.
Yes,
Did we pull those out of consent agenda?
we did.
The gifts?
The gifts, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We typically have always in the past pulled them out. That's why I thought
Okay.
I would just do that. So we have a friends, go ahead.
I move the committee accept the following donation from friends and family of the Ronald E. Bell, check 489 and number 145 to support a one-time donation of $1,000 to the Amherst Pelham Regional School District Music Program at director's discretion in memory of Ronald E. Bell, remaining scholarship funds $500, which were set up in his name at retirement to be used as above as well, for a total of $1,500.
Second. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstain? So it passes unanimously. Thank you for the gift and the donations. So now we have the meeting closing. We have future agenda planning. Deb?
So in 3 weeks' time, we have these the self-evaluations due back. Are we going to meet over the summer to discuss them?
I would hope that we will have a retreat or
Okay.
something over the summer, but that has not been planned to my knowledge. So it needs to be planned. Bridget?
I'd like to make a recommendation on that question, which is that we take the month of July off. We do those, we can collate them or put them together and have the retreat and the other thing in August. I'm noticing that the committee used to take a good chunk in the summer and it's getting less and less. And I think it would help all of us to have that break.
Thank you. Tim, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Let's see. So future agenda items. Well, it's okay. So one thing is it would help me a lot if we could have the retreat at the end of August, because I'll be traveling. I know this is on the list, but I would like a agenda item plan so that we can learn more about lead testing in the schools, the results from over the winter. And I think we need to figure out agenda items that help us as a committee figure out how to take meaningful action on all of the content and substance discussed by the community at public comment this evening.
Thank you. I have Sarah Marshall and then Anna.
It's not an agenda item, but this is tonight is the last meeting on our calendar. I mean, it's the last date that has been, so we need a whole new meeting calendar. So I don't know if the chairs do that with the admin or what, but the sooner that can be set and publicized, the better.
Anna?
So I think I would like a discussion about new positions and retitling positions and the entire central office structure and how the piloting of the directors or executive directors is going, and whether we want to continue with that structure or whether we want to go back to an assistant superintendent type structure. And I don't know if now is the time to do it or when, but that's just for the future.
Thank you. And I know you can point of order me if this is out of order, but earlier in our agenda that you presented, the item, Sarah, it was about hiring a grant manager. Is that like something that we have to approve because it's a new position?
That did occur to me.
And I was going to ask that. I don't know how I blanked out and didn't ask
Well-
that at that time, but
So we voted the policy, so I assume that the administration is aware of that and will bring us a
so this
job
was not an approval by us because we saw this document for this position.
That was just a summary of our meeting.
So that would be a new position that would have to come forward.
And Dr. Z is.
Oh, Dr.
Maybe
Z?
can address that.
That is not a new position. That's a position that's existed within the districts before. That is just one that, based on the audit findings, we had to bring back forth.
So do we need to have, because in the new policy, if it hasn't been in the last budget, then it is considered a new position. And so I was really confused by the language because it says it's not going to be in the operating budget for 27 and then 28. So I was confused when the position would actually, someone would actually start working in that position. And then I guess the question would be, how long has someone not been in that position? Because if it's been a budget cycle, then it is considered a new position and we have to approve it.
So, a couple of things. I believe the fund, and Shannon was not feeling well, so she is not on the call. The
We'll
funding
make it a
for
future agenda item, not to cut you
Okay.
off. But
Well, but can I clarify
Yes.
something? I don't think we can wait too long if they're trying to hire, depending on what they want to do around the hiring. But it was my understanding that they would like to hire someone into this position, like right away, and that it doesn't need to be in the budget because it will be paid for from the grants that the person is managing. So it doesn't cost the district anything. Not that we're not starting it, it's that it pays for itself.
So I think that's going to have to be an agenda item that we will put on the future agenda because I'm confused. And so we should probably have more clarification on that and the dates of when the position had been filled and not filled and go from there. Tim?
Could the Joint Policy Subcommittee, I don't know who's meeting soon, but I don't know if you're meeting soon, but.
We're not.
Okay.
But
What's the policy ID again? Just, do you remember off the top of your head?
which policy it was we just passed, I would have to go back.
Okay.
and look, sorry.
It began with a letter.
Began with a letter, good.
It's letter G.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, okay. I mean, it sounds like we need to figure this out before any hiring
I know what the
takes
policy
place.
says. I was confused by the wording of when the position was actually going to be filled. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not about if the money's coming out of our budget or not. It's a new position in the districts.
That's
So-
my understanding as well. So
Correct.
it seems like before any hiring can take place, we need to address this in an agenda item.
Correct, but those policies don't go into effect until July 1.
Oh.
So I guess in theory, if the person was hired before July 1, then it wouldn't actually be under our new policy.
Go Shannon, go.
It's policy GCA.
Dr. Z?
I'll have to confirm, but I know that once the audit findings were found, and the funding was identified through grants, I believe that position was already advertised and interviewed for. So I would have to confirm.
So we will follow up with that as a future agenda item. Any other future agenda items? Yes.
I can't remember what they were. Community forums, like talking about and planning community forums, because we know we've raised that before. Maybe this fits as more of the goal setting for the committee, but anti-racist training for everyone.
For us.
For us, yeah. There's a third one. I'm so sorry. I just got
You
so
can
tired.
email it to me.
Okay.
When you remember.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, nope. Still can't remember.
So that wraps us up for this piece.
Oh, I know.
Yes, go ahead.
It was more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
It was, I wonder if by just showing us the yellow and the red cards, that enough? That was enough? Yeah, like I'm just curious if like that had like an effect on our brains that we were like, oh, we have to be So it's like an effective strategy.
No one wants to
Yeah.
be ejected from the meeting.
Anyway,
Yellow card.
so let's move on. The Amherst Pelham Regional School Committee will now consider entering into executive session pursuant to MGL C30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, APEA, or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental, oh, I can't even talk tonight, a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and to approve minutes in accordance with open meeting law, MGL C30A, Section 22, with no intent of returning to open session.
Second.
All those in favor?
No, we have to roll call.
Oh, a roll call. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sarah,
Yes.
Bridget,
No.
Anna,
Yes.
Deb,
Abstain.
Laura Jane,
Abstain. I don't know if that's going to do anything.
Tim,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Sarah Bess?
Yes.
William, yes. So it passes. We have 2 abstentions, 1 no, and then 6 yeses. So it passes. We are now in executive session with no intent to return.